What's up, savages? Terrence Popp here, Redonkulous.com on a Friday night, live from the lair. And I have, if you've been watching this show for a while, I started telling paranormal stories about six and a half years back. And then I would, every now and again, I would tell a couple stories here and there. And I've got a lot of requests for guys that, that haven't heard those stories, want me to tell them again. So I'm going to do that tonight. And this is one of my passions is the paranormal. And I think it started because I grew up in a haunted house. You know, seen and felt a bunch of crazy ass shit in my travels. And listen, I am a calm, logical person. I am very observant, and I have seen things that cannot be explained. I, I mean, yeah, I don't care who you are, because when I saw some of this shit, I wasn't drunk, I wasn't high, I was in uniform. When I was overseas, uh, and when I grew up as a kid, I certainly didn't use any kind of wacky tobacco or drugs or anything. But yeah, hopefully this will be a good one. Pour yourself a menagerie, turn the lights down, grab a bag of chips, because there's going to be some storytelling. Now, Blake's not here. I have Red Pill and Jimmy in the background, running interference for us, and we will bring them in as needed. And at the end, we're going to bring in a bunch of people who can tell their own paranormal stories, because this is a man's network channel, and men should be allowed to talk about whatever the hell they want without having to worry about persecution and all that other bullshit. All right, so let us get started here. As a child, I grew up in 2 family homes. First one was in Oak Park, Michigan. It was just a little roach coach, 3-bedroom, flat, and not really too much happened in that house. I think mainly because it was built in like 1965, and we moved into it in like 1974. So it wasn't around that long before we moved in. Right around the end of 7th grade, my mother got a job as a respiratory therapist. And lo and behold, now she has money. We buy another house in the neighboring city called Berkeley, Michigan. Okay, now this house was put in place, I believe, in 1934, and it was a Sears and Roebuck kit house. That's how it started off, and then it had a couple of additions put on after the fact. And the people who lived there before my mother took possession of the home were 2 lesbians who had been living in the house for 35 years. And then one passed away. And then the other one continued to live in the house for another, I think, 3 or 4 years before she had to go to a care home. And then she shortly died. And in my opinion, I think they never moved out of that house. And the first story we had, and this one is actually quite scary. We had been moved in maybe 8 months. I was in the middle of 8th grade, and my mother, my younger sister, and I were in the living room watching the TV. I don't remember where we were watching, but my mother used to have this large leather chair, and it was fairly comfortable. I sat in it all the time, and I spent many years, roughhousing and playing around on that chair and doing stuff. Nothing ever happened to me. Well, about an hour into the show we're watching, my younger sister starts screaming. And these aren't like, play around, kid around scream. We're talking blood curdling, fearful, I am going to die screaming. And it shocked the absolute shit out of me. My mother jumps up off the couch. I jump up on my feet. I'm like, what? Yeah, because I'm like 12 years old, 11, 12 at the time. And my younger sister was like 7 or 8. And out of the back of her arm, there was a copious amount of blood coming out. Now, I'm not talking a little bit of dribble here. I'm talking like it was running down her arm and was like coming off her pinky at a crazy high rate, to the point where I actually reached up, grabbed her arm, and compressed it to stop the bleeding. My mother's like, "What happened?" And she's screaming, she's going crazy, telling me it burns and she's hurt, and she was just sitting in the chair, nothing else. And something had punctured the back of her arm, and it wasn't even a big puncture. It kind of looked like maybe it was like a pinprick, but there was absolutely no way the volume of blood came out of that hole as I saw it. And like, we tore that chair apart. We did everything we could. I even had my buddy Richard bring over his metal detector because I thought maybe in one of the cushions was a nail or something like that. Nothing. We never could explain it. And my sister had a very difficult time growing up in that house because she saw some of the stuff. I think she was attacked in some way. But I've always been sensitive to an extent to that kind of stuff, even as a very young child. And that one was the original wake-up call that, like, oh shit, we are in a questionable residence here, because we couldn't explain it. And my mother was lividly, like, upset. She called her sister, who came over, who's a registered nurse. I don't like her, but that's another story. She shows up about 30 minutes later, looks at all of the blood, and the first thing comes out of her mouth is, "Did somebody sever an artery?" That's how much blood was, it looked like a murder victim kind of scene. And once that happened, then I started really paying attention. All right. Now, because in this particular house, the two lesbians that live there, I don't care if you're lesbian, gay, bi, whatever. I don't care what title you want to give yourself. You're still a human being, and you're entitled to live a happy, healthy, carefree life if you can afford it. But they're lesbian, didn't have kids. And my mother was an amateur artist in her youth, and she had a self-portrait that she made of herself breastfeeding. I believe it was my sister. And we hung it on the wall going up the stairs. And that picture would never stay on the wall. It fell down at least 18, 19 times in a 1-year period. All right. And I'm talking, we thought maybe it was the nail. We put in a screw, and then we redid the cable on the back, and we hung it up. And on a few of the occasions that I would come home from school and the painting would be on the floor at the base of the stairs, the cable was snapped, like something grabbed it, pulled it off, and then dropped it. Because the third time I had changed the cable for the third time, and I was very meticulous about how I put that thing on there. And there's absolutely no way that a small picture, it was maybe about half the size of this board. It's not terribly small, but it doesn't have enough weight to do that. And it happened so many times, especially the last 2 or 3 times, it would happen in the middle of the night. Last time it happened, my mother came out of her room. I came out of my room because, I thought maybe somebody was breaking into the house. I go down there, say, "Ma, it's the picture again. It fell off the wall." She's like, "You know what? I'm tired of playing these games. Just put it in the basement." So we put the picture in the basement, and lo and behold, it stopped. That was pretty crazy. Next one. Now, if you live in an old house, and by the time we moved in, this house was considered old, things happen. You know, houses creak, they make noises, they settle. You know, if the wind's blowing, you get used to those sounds that your house makes, especially after you've been there a couple years, because you're in that environment. On many occasions, I can't even count how many times this would happen. But the one I'm going to tell you about happened in the dead of winter. All right. I think it was December-ish, couple weeks before Christmas. I come home. I am in the living room. I turn on the TV. I know I'm in the house by myself. I go into the kitchen. I grab a Coca-Cola in a glass bottle. The rest are counterfeit. Another video. Open it. I am literally standing in front of the TV, turning channels. In one of the bedroom doors upstairs slammed shut so violently it shook the house. So I immediately run up there to see what the hell's going on. My dog wasn't up there. She was down with me hanging out where she always used to be. There weren't any open windows. And it was my sister's door. And it had been slammed so hard, it actually developed a partial crack in one of the panels. Now, I've gotten mad before, and I've slammed doors. And for me to generate that kind of force to slam that door, it would literally require 100% of my effort at that time. And I believe I was 14 or 15 with that one happen. Like I said before, it happened many, many times, but never as violently as that. So typically when some crazy shit would go on like that and I was in the house by myself, I would leave. Because guess what? I don't want to be in that environment like anyone else. All right, next one. And that's a slam. Oh, and this one always wigged me out. All right. So I believe I have a touch of the ESP. I can tell when people are like staring at me and stuff like that on a regular basis. It's not 100%, but and I used to always have this it was incredibly, to me, creepy. Now, I never actually saw an apparition straight up in that house, but I would see stuff moving at the peripheral vision and I would turn and there'd be nothing there. And on this particular night, I'm watching TV on the couch. So I'm facing the TV this way. Off to my left and up is the first landing for the stairs that go up to the second floor. And out of the corner of my eye, every now and again, I would see the face of a woman looking around the wall, watching me. And every time I'd look, there'd be nothing there. But I'd be like, I could see the movement, and then it's right on the edge of your peripheral vision. That happened all the time. All the time. And on a couple of occasions, and I used to have a dog named, I think, Piper. I named her after Roddy Piper because she was fucking insane. Love that dog. She's next to me on the couch. Again, I'm watching TV. I'm getting that feeling like I'm being watched. And I literally hear the wooden floor creak like somebody is literally walking by the couch and then up the stairs. Now, listen, like I've said before, I'm a calm, rational person. So when I heard this, my dog gets up and starts growling. And she's literally tracking something walking by that I can hear because the floor is creaking, but I can't see. Needless to say, I got up, went to my room, locked the fucking door, and kept the dog usually slept with me. And that was pretty bad. And something similar happened many times, but that was the worst one. And I had a friend of mine. He's passed away now. His name's Richard, and he was like my baby brother. He had a really bad home life, and so he would spend most of the days and nights sleeping at my house. And he would usually we throw it on a pad on the floor, and he would sleep down there. And one night, it's about 1:30 in the morning, he wakes me up, and I'm like, "Well, what's going on, Richard?" He goes, "Hey, somebody's walking up and down the stairs." I'm like, "What are you talking about? It's 1:30 in the goddamn morning." He goes, "Dude, I'm laying on the floor. I could feel them walking up the stairs. I can hear it." So I'm like, get the hell out of here. I'll tell you what, I'll switch places with you. You're obviously imagining it. So I lay down on the floor. About a half an hour later, boom, 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 boom. A couple minutes later, boom, 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 boom. All night, up and down the stairs. And so I knew that house was significantly active. Now, luckily, there wasn't like a lot of stuff flying around all the time. Things would break from time to time. The one that really it actually happened 2 or 3 times. And this one is really, really strange. My mother used to have this, it was like a cake tray made of like glass, and then there's an airtight top that goes on that literally fits into a groove, so it makes it semi-airtight. And we had it stored on top of the refrigerator all the way to the back wall, and then there was a bunch of napkins and disposable cups and plates. We used to store everything up there on top of the fridge. Sometime after 2 in the morning, I am dead asleep, and I hear this loud crash. I get up, exit my room. My mother's up, and I'm like, I'm about 16 now. I'm like, what the fuck was that? So, well, I'm the man in the house. I go down there to check it out. Well, the top of that cake pedestal thingamajigger, which is in its own groove on top of the refrigerator, was shattered on the middle of the kitchen floor, and the base for that cake thing was still there at the back of the fridge. There was a couple other times where things would mysteriously fall and break on the kitchen floor. And on one occasion, it was like, again, sometime, between 2 and 4 in the morning, again, crashing down there. I go down there, and there's like 2 glasses from the cupboard broken on the floor. And another time, it was a plate, a bunch of silverware that was in the drying rack. But it didn't happen all the time, so you can give yourself a little bit of comfort, like, it's just a fluke. Don't worry about it. And people play those games with themselves, to get along in the environment that they're living in. Because, living in a haunted house sucks. Now, granted, the house I grew up in wasn't like turbo nasty haunted by like evil shit. At least I never got that vibe. But there were times things happened when people did stupid shit in the house. My buddy Pete, I'm telling him that, hey, the house is haunted. I'm going through all the stories. He's like, yeah, He didn't obviously didn't believe me. So Mr. Dickbag decides to like walk around the house, stomping, instigating these ghosts. Like he's like insulting them because they're gay, saying that they're fat, they're ugly, blah. And then about an hour and a half later, he leaves to go home. And now I'm stuck in a supercharged, haunted fucking house. And I'm sure that whatever was inhabiting the house was pissed as fuck. Because the next few days after that, there were instances of slamming doors, all kinds of crazy stuff. And on occasion, you would see the living room curtains like ruffle up, like you had left the window open and a gust of wind hit them. In the middle of the winter, it's not really that windy. The storm window's down, the other window's down. It's pretty airtight. And that happened maybe three times in the house. And it wasn't enough to like really freak people out, but yeah, it was. It was pretty creepy. Let's see, turn off. All right, this one here happened to my brother-in-law. His name's Joe. Not going to use his last name. My sister and him are divorced now, but he's still a good guy. I don't have anything negative to say about him. And he's an engineer now. So again, he's another calm, rational, high-level thinker, makes a living thinking about, solving problems and what have you. And I'm up in my room. I think I was playing Atari 400. Yes, I'm dating myself. I understand that. And I hear him do one of these, and I hear him running up the stairs. So I'm like, Joe, what the hell's going on? He was on the couch watching TV. And the light, which is right, it used to be right here to the right. It's one of those lights you turn it. It's got 3 clicks to the highest level. Well, it was off, and he heard it click, 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 go up to the highest level, and then turn off. And then he immediately ran up the stairs. Now, I really can't. I mean, I went down there. I took the light shade off. I fucked with it for about 20 minutes. There was nothing wrong with the lamp or the light switch. And so I fully believe that happened. Now, that never happened directly to me. I never saw that. I did on occasion would see the chandelier that hung in the dining room start moving on its own. Now, like if the heat comes on and the air goes to the ceiling, you can expect, a little bit of movement and stuff like that. But not, out of the blue, it just starts doing this. And that happened a couple times. And you just get used to it after a while. It's like, yeah, they're fucking with me. What are you going to do? They're dead. There's nothing I can do about it, But it is what it is. All right. Now, we move out of that house. My mother lost that house in a foreclosure, I think, when I was 35 or 36. So I buy another house in Berkeley. It's about a mile and some change away from my mother's house. Now, this house I purchased it in 2008 when the real estate market crashed, and apparently the house was in disrepair, and there was rumors that it had been a, drug hangout house. Whatever. We move in. I spend a lot of money, getting it livable and getting everything up to speed. And nothing really happened in the house like it did in the first one. I mean, occasionally you'd be in the basement and something would move. You could hear it, but you never saw it. That could be anything. I would always, downgrade that. So it's the middle of the day. It's a weekend. I'm in the house. No one else is home. There's about maybe 10, 12 inches of snow on the ground. And as you watch the TV, off to my right, you go through the living room, and then there's a den, and then there's a big window right there. And it's just high enough that if somebody walks by, you would see them from about here up. And it just so happens, I just look that way, and I see a dude with a straw hat on, literally mosey on by that fucking window. And I'm like, oh, okay. I thought maybe it was a meter reader or something. So I go out to the back door because I'm gonna talk to the guy. Nothing. There weren't even tracks in the snow. I saw that same apparition on different windows about 2 or 3 times, in the 5 years I had the house before I had to PCS to New York State. My mother has seen it a couple times. So I decide I'm going to do a little research on the house that we own. And apparently that house was the house and the land around it, I don't know how many acres, used to be a apple orchard and a pear orchard. And the guy kept honeybees and stuff, I think. And I literally think it's the original owner of the house still tending to his orchard out and about in the property. And thank God I haven't seen that dude in the house at all. But I've seen it at least 3 or 4 times. My mother's seen it a couple times. My second oldest nephew, he lives there with his girlfriend now. He's seen it once. And it's pretty unnerving. You would think that you're living in a house where previous owners are still living there or existing there. Let's not say living because, they're dead. But it's pretty eerie and creepy when you think about it. Now, I mentioned the objects moving in the basement. All right. Now, I go there probably 2 or 3 times a week to hang out with my mother and see if she's okay. I also store a lot of my old Army equipment and crap in the basement. So I go down in the basement quite a bit. And I go there and I ask my nephew, go in the basement, and I believe I was asking him to get a couple tools. I need a hammer and a Phillip head screwdriver and a standard screwdriver. And he goes, I'm not going down there. And I'm like, Nathan, why don't you go in the basement? What's going on? And he goes, nah, man. I saw some shit move down there, and I'm good. If you want it, you can go get it. He's a grown-ass man. I'm like, okay. I go down there and I get the stuff. Again, he's a logical, rational person. I think he was 25 years old or 24 years old at the time. And when he tells you shit, he's not making it up. And then I heard from his younger brother the same story. He didn't like going to the basement either because he would hear things and things would move from time to time. Never happened to me, so there you go. All right, so that covers, all the houses I've lived in up until that point. Now, we're sitting in the lair right now. I really can't do anything with the camera, but if I could, I would turn it to the left so you would see across the house. And you can see the back door of the house. In front of that door is a box, a chair, and a bunch of bricks. And the reason I put that there is while Darren, my buddy Darren, who passed away, was living here, he was immobile. So I know it wasn't him doing it. But there were a couple times I'd get up, come down here to check on him. And the back door wide the fuck open. Wide open. I thought, okay, well, maybe he got up in the middle of the night. And he's like, no, man, the door just opened. I'm like, what? So I would make it a point to come down at night, physically lock the door, and, there's a security door on the outside. And on about two, maybe three occasions, I'd come back downstairs, doors open. So now I have to keep a bunch of shit in front of that door so it doesn't open in the middle of the night. And it's happened twice. Every now and again, you can hear, footsteps running through the house. And it's not like an adult, it's like a child. And you hear a giggle here and there. Now, I live right near a major road, so it could be explained away, like, it's road sound or something like that. I just find it, like, pretty odd that I'm having this kind of stuff in this house, and that crap is going on. Now, my buddy Darren, before he passed away, this was about 2 weeks before he died, and I think this was some of his relatives, because he was dying. Let's face it, he was 600 pounds. He hadn't moved in months. He was in a bad way. Congestive heart failure, you name it. So one night about 3 a.m, my phone starts going off. I wake up, I answer the phone. It's Darren calling me from down here. He's like, come down here and bring your shotgun. Well, that's all I had to say. Instantly, because I keep one in the corner, just in case. I come storming down here, and he has a look on his face. Like, he's legitimately twisted up here in his thinking meat. And I'm like, what's going on? He goes, someone's in the house. And I'm like, oh, shit. So I go right into clearing mode. I go through every bedroom. I open up the door in the basement. I clear the basement. All the doors are sealed and everything. And Darren told me that he could actually, because I would leave the kitchen light on for him, and he was seeing shadows walking around in the kitchen. And he literally thought someone's in the house, and he called me immediately. Now, he passed away, I think, 10 days later after that particular event. And I've never seen that. I've never had that problem. So I think that's what it was, because I believe in that. Like, if you live a decent life, you're a good person, by the time you pack it in and you're ready to leave your keys at the counter, there's people from the other side who come to get you, because maybe the transition is pretty crazy. But that's the home life thing. So I'm used to the whole supernatural paranormal thing. Now, I'm not used to like the whole poltergeist throwing shit around thing. I don't know how I would handle that. And knock on wood, I never have to see or hear that shit. But I've been around it long enough that, it is what it is. So now I'm going to fast forward. And we're going to talk about Abu Ghraib prison. For those of you that don't know, Abu Ghraib prison was the premier prison in Iraq. It was the largest prison in Iraq. And through all of Saddam Hussein's reign as dictator-in-chief of that country, it's estimated between 1.8 and 3.8 million people were sent to that prison. And a lot of people never came back because they were murdered in there and buried in mass graves. All right. So the prison block that we were living in was towards the back corner of the entire complex, because the way it worked is you had I think it was 5 prison complexes, and then a huge wall around the whole thing. Well, just outside of our complex, they were leveling out the ground because they're going to put in some more living quarters. At least that's what I was told. But they bulldozed the cap off of a very large mass grave. And they had pushed a lot of this dirt along the wall, I guess, to help reinforce it from car bombs or what have you. And that dirt was full of bones and teeth, occasional skull here and there. You know, flip-flops, rags of clothing. I mean, it is what it is. Now, we worked for the 202 MI battalion. So once I saw that, I literally went up there and I inquired, and that's what they told me. They're like, yeah, they basically bulldozed the cap off a mass grave. They've already called in like 2 or 3, non-government organizations to come and catalog and count the dead and all that stuff. And it was later explained to me that they had found 3 different mass graves that had been put in position over a 10-year period. And these graves contained hundreds of thousands of dead bodies. Of course, most of them had long since decomposed into like bits and stuff. But that place, turbo haunted. Now, this particular story, I'm just setting the stage for that. So I'm just bear with me. I was the first sergeant of Company F425, Airborne Long Range Reconnaissance Infantry. I know it's a big title. Got it. And I have to go up to a battalion meeting. It starts at 9 o'clock. And I go up there. I'm with my commander, and I'm just listening to the same old bullshit, blah, 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 blah. We get done. My commander decides he's going to stay back for a few minutes because, he's got to suck some more dick and kiss some more ass, whatever he used to do. I'm like, fine, I'm going back. So I put on my battle rattle, I pick up my weapon, I exit. I'm taking the walk back to our cell block area. And it's about 11:15 at night. Now, in Iraq, as soon as the sun goes down, it's pretty much darker than 3 feet up a well digger's ass. Not much going on. So I'm walking up to our building, and the way it works is you walk in the main entrance, and then there's a long hallway that goes the full length of the building. And then there's offices, along the side. And it used to be, let's face it, chicken coops for prisoners. And I come around the corner, and this hallway is lit from above by fluorescent lights. The whole distance. It is very bright. I come around the corner, and there is a jet black shadow, and it just kind of walks across right under the light. And it's still jet black. And then goes into an alcove around the corner, and it's maybe 60 feet away from me. It took me maybe 10 seconds to walk there. So I turned the corner to this alcove, and there was 3 doors there for, 3 offices that were padlocked from the outside. They only used them now and again. It was another unit, I think it was a medical unit from across the way, was using it to store medical supplies and stuff. So there shouldn't have been anybody there. But there's nowhere that individual, that jet black thing could have gone without me seeing it. I'm literally 10, 12 seconds behind it. I turned the corner where it went. There's no exit. The doors are locked. There is nothing there. Scared the living shit out of me. That was a bad one. And the way it was explained to me by one of our interpreters, and he called it a jinn. I'm like, okay, well, what's that? He goes, well, in your language, the closest thing is a demon. Oh, fuck. So that one creeped me out. Next one. I'm living in the back of one of the bays where First Platoon was living, and it was on the second floor. And I was living in the back in a old. They said it was a shower, facility of a toilet, but in reality, there used to be a tank there full of acid, and they used to dip people there until they died. And they had cleaned it all out, and then lo and behold, right where the acid tank was is where my fucking bunk was. So I had all kinds of horrible dreams and experiences living in that hellhole. This particular apparition was seen by at least 6 different people in that platoon. And the exit to the first platoon, you would, on the far end of the room, there's the entrance or the exit, and it goes down some stairs into a courtyard. You turn left, you go like another 30 meters to the porta pissers and shitters. Middle of the night, one of my soldiers going down the stairs, and now we lit the hallway at night with chem lights, so it wasn't like super bright, but it was bright enough that you're not going to slip and fall down the stairs, kind of thing. Guy's walking down the stairs, and this 10-year-old child, little boy, literally walks up past him. He turns around like, what the fuck? Sees the kid go up the stairs and then walk into the bay. Goes, what the fuck? Goes up there, turns on the light, and he's like, there's a kid in here. Now, it's like, sometime after 1 a.m, everyone gets up. Everyone, parents got their weapons. And everybody starts flipping bunks and looking for this kid. They never found him. And it played out that almost that exact same scenario 2 more times while I was living there. The third time it happened, it's like 2:30 in the morning. Lights come on. There's a kid in here on the side. And I literally come walking out of my torture acid bath shower room, and I'm looking across the bay, and I make eye contact with the guy whose bunk is literally by the door. And I'm looking right at him. I go, yeah, kid's dead. It's a ghost. I turn the lights off. Next day, he's like, hey, First Sergeant, could you kind of work it out so I don't have to sleep by the door anymore? I'm like, yeah, no problem, bro. So we moved him. But, that was 3 occasions that I know of, and I've heard of about 3 or 4 other stories that happened while I wasn't around. And the way it was explained to me is the prison area we were living in was for political prisoners, which were treated worse than murderers. They were like pretty much murdered, and there was a wood chipping machine in the back. Why you need a wood chipping machine in the desert? Well, I know why, but it's just incredibly gruesome to think about. All right. Next one. Now, this one happened in the middle of the day. It was like 2 in the afternoon-ish. I came back from lunch. I had come out of our talk, and I was out in the courtyard and sitting in one of those canvas chairs things under a camo net to get some shade. And behind me, there was a building that was all boarded up. And all the windows boarded up, bolted onto the concrete, plywood over the doors. And I'm sitting in this chair, and I hear boom, 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 like somebody's pounding on this 4x8 piece of plywood bolted over the door. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, you're not supposed to be in there. So I walk around the building, and I'm like, hey, get the fuck out of there, man. This is bullshit. You're trying to scare me, Nothing. Not a goddamn thing. I'm like, okay, it's haunted. Let's just, I'm like, just going to my fuck it. I'm doing my mantra to calm myself down. I go back, I sit in the chair, and about 5-10 minutes later, boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, that's it. Fuck this shit. I go get 4 soldiers. I'm like, get some of those pioneer tools. Let's just find out what the fuck this is. Somebody's fucking with me. We pry the 4x8 sheet of plywood off of the doorway entrance. I enter into the building. We have flashlights because there's no light in there. It's dark. And the reason they had sealed that building up is before we took possession of that prison complex, the Iraqis went on some executing frenzy and just murdered thousands of individuals. That's what I was told. Well, the bodies had been taken care of, but the walls were literally covered in brains, hair, blood, bits of flesh, just dried to the fucking walls. And it stunk like death in there. Like to the point where, you feel just that low-grade nausea, like when you're taking out the trash and you get that whiff of that just nasty air and you're like, ugh. That's the feeling I'm talking about. And I don't remember who the soldier was, but he's like, hey, First Sergeant, I don't think we should be in here. And I'm like, you think? So we sealed it back up. I reported it up the chain. I got my ass chewed for opening it. But, I've been yelled at many times. And I'm sure I'll be yelled at many more times before I decide to step over to the other side. So it's not really a big deal. The next one. All right. It's about 9:00 at night. It's dark. And I'm walking back to our building. And I see a bunch of hooas hanging out, sitting in chairs, looking across the field where this mass grave was located. All right. So it's the middle. It's dark. And, the Iraqi construction is probably not that trustworthy because you can see light coming through the wall. I know it's weird, but it was it's supposed to be a cement wall, but light would come through it. So there were some vertical cracks and stuff. And every now and again you hear like, you see it? There it is. And that gets my attention. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I walk up there. I'm like, what are you guys looking at? He goes, hey, First Sergeant, there's shadows or something moving out there. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. So I go get a chair, move it over there, and I sit down and I'm like, and I'm watching. Sure as shit. You can see the white wall, the farthest outer wall, and there's a couple cracks where light's coming through. And every now and again, you'd see a shadow pop up and move and go down. And another one pop up, move and go down. And I'm like, okay, well, have fun with that. I'm going to wash this out of my thinking meat and go to bed. So I got up and left. But that's the kind of shit that we had to deal with. And, you would hear stuff from time to time. And it was really bad for this 2-week period when first platoon, or maybe it was 3 weeks, first platoon got sent up to the Syrian border. And they were doing what they do, which is patrolling 6-man teams or whatever. So I'm living in the acid dip room. Nobody is in the bay anymore. Everyone's gone. They packed up all their shit. They stacked all their bunks in the corner. There's a couple of foot lockers waiting for them to come back, but everything else is gone. Nothing there. And this happened more times than I can remember in that 3 or 4 week period. Is you could hear feet. There's no shoes. It's just that of feet when the sound that feet make when you walk across concrete happened all the time. All the time. I can't even tell you. I mean, it happened at night. It happened during the day. There's times it would happen. I had 2 or 3 people with me. I'm like, do you fucking hear that? They're like, fuck yeah. Is there an animal in here? I'm like, no. It's fucking dead people walking around. You can fucking hear them. And they're like, oh, I'm getting the fuck out of here. Listen, it was unbelievably creepy. Not to mention, there were many times I'd wake up middle of the night and you would hear people talking in Arabic. There's nobody in that complex after like 7 o'clock at night speaking Arabic. Now, during the day, you have local hajis that come in and service the toilets and they do some other, maintenance stuff. And we pay them, whatever. I'm sure they were spying on us. Fuck those guys. But yeah, there should be none of that shit. And occasionally you would hear a faint scream. You would hear like it. You couldn't understand it, but what's happening is like somebody's begging for mercy or something. And it's very faint. And that happened all the time as well inside that prison. Unbelievable. All right. We talked about the voices, the footsteps. We covered all that. Okay. All right. I'm going to go for just a few more minutes and we'll bring in the panel. All right. The next one. Now, this happened at the 414 Civil Affairs Battalion that used to be located in Southfield, Michigan. I worked there as a full-time, basically team sergeant for civil affairs. And this is a position I had acquired. And the Army took care of me because, I was physically pretty tore up from getting wounded in Iraq. And they just basically gave me a desk job, which is cool. But sometimes I'd have to be there late at night because I was with the original crew that was standing up the unit. The 414 used to be in New York, Utica, New York, where I was later stationed. And they had packed it up and moved it to Michigan. Okay. Well, you're working with a skeleton crew. You got to do 5 people's jobs. So it's about 10:15 at night, maybe 9, sometime after 9:30. I mean, it's way beyond business hours. And I'm leaving the building. There's no one else in there. My commander had left about, was it Captain Donnie, who had left about 20 minutes prior to that. I was in the middle of finishing up, I think it was the slide deck for a battalion briefing the next day. I pack up my shit, turn off the lights, lock the office, go through the close down procedures. I check the arms room because if you're the last one in the building, you got to check the arms room and then make initial date and time it when it was inspected. And I'm walking down the hallway. I turn right, and there's a long hallway to the door to the parking lot. And I hear furniture moving. And I'm like, what the fuck? Nobody's supposed to be in here. So I go in the clear mode, and I start walking around yelling for people. I go through the whole supply room and the whole supply cage area. Nothing. I check some office doors. They're locked. There's nobody in there. I look in the parking lot. My car is the only one in the lot. And then I hear it again. And it wasn't loud. It was like somebody like taking the heavy desk and just kind of pushed it enough to make that squeaky sound on the floor. I'm like, okay. I walk down there to one of the classrooms. I turn on the light. Now, that particular classroom, what they do is they'll strip all the wax off the floor. They put the furniture in position. And then I think either they use boot black or a permanent marker, and they put dots on the floor where all the furniture goes. Once you re-wax the floor, the dots are there, and you just put everything back. And I know it had been, we hadn't touched that room in about 2 or 3 days. I think it was the week after a drill. So I literally was there and I watched them, sweep and mop the floor, buff it, put all the furniture back and leave. And then we shut the door and nobody else is there. Well, the main desk at the front of the classroom had been shifted about 6, maybe 8 inches out of position. So I'm like, okay, all right. I got some undead who was fucking with me. So I turn the light on. I look at it. I'm like, I know nobody's there. And I'm like, all right, you fuckers, you got me. And I turn the light off and I leave. And the way I look at it is this. They're other servicemen. They just vacated their bodies. They're not going to actually fuck me up. They're just fucking with me. Which, what we always did to each other anyway. So, that ratcheted, setting that trick in my mind brought the fear level from like a 9 to a 2. Because I knew I was going to be okay. This other one here, I'm gonna do one more and we'll switch it up. I love telling these stories. You guys let me know in the comments if you like these stories or not. Okay. I'm in Fort Custer, Michigan. Now, for those of you that don't know, that is where we used to train our cavalry when we used to ride around on horses. That's why, the Kellogg Company got their initial start bringing grain and everything in for horses and stuff for the cavalry. And I am running a land nav range. We did it during the day, and I'm running a land nav range that night. All right, so I hand everyone their paperwork. I give them their protractors. I inspect everyone's compass, make sure everyone's good to go. All right, now you're on an actual post, so you're not going to walk off the post and into the woods and get lost. Well, 10 o'clock rolls around. I'm missing 2 guys. I'm like, okay, I'm going to give them 15 minutes. 15 minutes goes by. They're still not here. So I'm like, God damn it. I start walking down one of the perimeter roads. And I walk down maybe almost a mile. And I step off the road for a second. And I'm just listening to see if I can hear any idiots, stumbling through the woods at night. Because, you're pretty loud. And I hear horses. All right, now this isn't like out in the distance or anything. I'm about 20 yards off the road, and I can hear horses riding right by on that fucking road. Somewhere, it had to be more than 4 of them. But I saw nothing. There wasn't even any hoof prints in that particular area. That one really twisted my pickle because I was literally standing right there. Oh, it fucking creeps me out. All right, let's take a break. Bring in Red Pill. Come on, Rhino. What you got?
Hello. Yeah, I've got a couple myself that I think I'll go through. Nothing quite as extreme or crazy. Well, there's one that's interesting, but I'll save it for last. Also, let's bring in Jimmy to the house. He's been patiently waiting back there. And we do have a few panel members as well tonight with their stories as well. We'll get to them after the break here. But yeah, I've got a couple I'll roll through real quick. I do also want to make sure we've covered chats here. I did see a few come in. So on your side, we are streaming on both platforms. So you'll see us over on the Redonkulous side and the Red Pill Rhino side. On your side, sir, on Redonkulous, we have Dark Knight for $4.99 on YouTube. I felt a deep depression and a hand on my leg when I was sleeping, waking up of many times. Yeah, that's not a good thing, man, at all. I would not like that. All right, we've got Jackson Whittier here for $10, also on YouTube. 22 work as a truck driver. I've seen many weird things. I can't explain, though. I believe a lot of it was extreme sleep deprivation. That will definitely do it. Look up some old school trucker legends like Ghost Cap and Black Dog. I have heard of Black Dog. Mm-hmm. Popp, have you ever heard of the Black Dog thing?
I think so. Refresh me. What?
So my understanding is essentially, and this is more related to the sleep depression thing, but apparently a dog that is not there as they're driving down roads late at night, that dog will jump out in front of them and cause a few drivers to swerve off the road. That's my recollection of it.
There is a whole Patrick Swayze movie that is actually pretty decent. About it is labeled. It is named Black Dog. So
there you go.
It's actually a pretty good movie. It's actually got a Meatloaf in it. R.I.P. to him.
There you are. All right. We've got a couple more on YouTube here. Let's see. We've got T. Stoney for $20. Thank you so much, sir. Excuse me, ma'am. Love your paranormal stories, Pop. I hope you got the email in which I told my astral projection story. Thanks for sharing and happy October. Best month to have a birthday. I did check the emails. I didn't see anything there. If you could resend it over to us and just put your name in the subject line and astral projection story, we'll see if we can get that up and read that on the show. Also,
sure.
We have Jackson Whittier again here for $20. Once I was hiking near Bend, Oregon, Lava Butte, and as I walked further in, I felt a presence and like someone or something was watching me, and it intensified the further I went in. Eventually I got freaked out and left. Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything else. There were a couple on Odyssey that I saw as well.
Yep.
Let's see here.
I've actually got a.
Go ahead,
Odyssey
Jimmy.
Pulled up. We got a LE card 1776. This is. Whoops. There we go. It says, I have a story for you. When I was in another state, me and my uncle were driving back and forth, seeing an old fort in the from the Santa Fe Trail. The smell of fire and fog rolled in. The next thing we know, a gray orb was racing the truck. Went from the front of the truck, went across from the front of the truck.
That's
interesting. Let's see. Maverick 7508 says, dropped my first ethereal encounter in the Redonkulous 12 email.
Ooh.
Let's see. Let me take a look here. I got everything opened up here. Let's see here. See if I can find it here. That's another one that may or may not have jumped in here. So
was that Maverick? If so, I see that one.
Yep, there it is. Maverick 7508. Yep. Apologies for that one. Look right over that. It says, I remember my first ghostly encounter. We had just moved to Texas, and my mom was napping while we were unloading into the new house. Next thing my dad and I know, she's trying to pack our shit back into the truck. She had a dream where we were packing up everything and leaving. After that, I put a tape recorder on for the night, got a recording of an old woman, by the sound of it, quietly saying my name. Did some research and found out that one of the previous owners had died in the house in her 70s. Guess she sussed out my mother's natures too, since she did not like my mother. Yeah, it is. It's quite the creepy feeling when you have an astral projection or a what do they call it? EPV or electro voice phenomenon.
Yeah.
That it says your name or someone that you're close to's name, and you have no history with that building whatsoever. It is quite the crazy situation there. So you got a Space Marine here with his next one. He says, here we go. There's lots of crazy stories about weird artifacts and mummies that were found by the military during the Iraq War. Have you ever heard of anything that leads you to believe that the stories might be true, or do you think it's all bullshit?
What you're talking about? They must be talking about what's his name? Gilgamesh's tomb.
Oh yeah,
I've heard a lot of stories about that, and I myself I didn't see it. I didn't get a chance to check it out or anything. But while I was in Iraq, they talked about that all the time.
Yep, that would definitely do something.
Some of the local nationals that I would talk to would talk about it as well. So, I mean,
oh yeah,
apparently it was put out on Iraqi news or whatever back before Saddam fell. So I don't know. I mean, it does seem kind of weird that the news reports they find Gilgamesh's tomb and then we're invading Iraq. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then, of course, you've heard the stories about the red-haired giant in Afghanistan.
Yep. I do remember vaguely hearing about that one.
All right,
Jesus
now,
Christ.
I heard the story, and then at the end they talk about how a helicopter came and picked it up and took it away, and there was a lot of questions asked. While I was in Iraq, we'd actually found, I think it was a pallet or half pallet of NBC rounds. Nuclear they're basically chemical weapon shells for a 155 or 152. And they took the truck and they drove it up to Victory and they had it isolated, and it was there for about 2 weeks. And then I get a call that they want me as the first sergeant to go down there and confirm this is the actual truck. So I'm like, okay, I get in the afternoon convoy. I roll out there. I talked to these guys. There was a warrant officer. There was a E7. I don't remember their names. And there were 2 guys in civilian clothes. And they're just like, hey, First Sergeant, is this your guy's truck that you parked here? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, that's it. And they're like, okay. And literally, they took this pallet of munitions, moved it onto this aircraft, and gone. And I'm like, where they taking it? And they're like, take what? I'm like, I see what's going on here. You sons of bitches. But they do that. They make shit disappear. I mean, I saw it actually happen. It never hit the media or anything.
Well, of course not.
Well, the only reason I'm talking about is they didn't have me sign a non-disclosure agreement so they could fuck off.
Right.
Gotta love those ones. See, moving on to the next one here. We got Alley Card 1776 coming back. It says he's creating an index of cryptids and paranormal.
Ooh.
Here we go. We're gonna have to definitely delve into that one here later on.
Yeah.
The cryptids.
We got cryptids and paranormal.
Yeah.
And we got slowly go insane with 2 in a row here. His first one says I may have been possessed once, but I think it was an angel, not a ghost. I was playing soccer as a kid and suddenly passed out. I came to later on and my feet were elsewhere. Everyone cheering, and I asked what happened. Moved up on. They said that I ran the ball past everyone else, passed it, and we scored. His second one coming up is I was not in any way good at soccer back then. Certainly could not do that, and even if I could, I had zero recollection. Seizures and stuff cause you to flail on the ground, not to do something better than normal. Not sure why ghosts or angel or whatever likes child's soccer, though. Well, that is there is quite a conundrum when it comes to the children and the possessions, and also the let's just say those not on the good side of the paranormal spectrum that will take the appearance or mannerisms of a child to lead the mortals into a false sense of security.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh.
Don't mess with that shit.
Yep. So yes, if you hear a child laughing, it is a flip of a coin of a what the hell is that? I can't remember what the word is, where it's a repeat phenomenon.
Okay.
Or when it's something that's actually quite mischievous. Just to put it in that
what
way.
you're experiencing, what you're talking about is this is the theory. You have basically background hauntings, where you see, or the same thing happens over and over again. It's like that area is caught in a loop of some type.
Yep.
And then you have the intelligent hauntings that interact, and
Mm-hmm.
those are the creepy ones right there.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
The
Don't
ones
get
that
me
will-
wrong; it's all creepy, but
Yeah, it's if you run into an intelligent entity,
Mm-hmm.
be very, very careful and respectful
Yeah.
with it, because
We're gonna get into that in a minute.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we've got just a couple more over here on Odyssey. Oh, excuse me. I got Alucard 7076 coming back. Any cryptids and paranormal creatures? I already have Bigfoot and Dogman, so don't ask.
Oh, well, okay. The only cryptid stuff I have is I actually didn't see it, but we were in the squally rainforest in Washington. I was with the 2nd Ranger Battalion. We're just doing training. And we, at the end of the night, we're out doing our squad training during the day. We come back and we set up a platoon patrol base, which is the triangle with the machine guns and all that shit. And, sometime about 11, it's after 11 o'clock, I get woken up and they're like, hey, you got to hear this. I'm like, what? What the fuck? Well, they used to call the squally rainforest Dinosaur Land, because there's like trees that have fallen down, those big redwood trees that are like 12, 20 feet wide and shit, and there's some large animal walking around doing something about 150 meters away from our patrol base, and it's you can hear wood breaking, like it's walking here. I mean, we're talking, it sounded like 4 inches of these limbs just getting broken. So I'm like, oh shit. I look over, my squad leader is like reaching in his pocket and he's putting live rounds in a magazine.
Mm.
I don't know, hey, Sergeant Smith, what you're doing? He goes, I ain't dying by Bigfoot. And I'm like, he's got a point. He's got a point. Now, we never saw nothing, but that interaction, after I saw my squad leader pulling out live rounds, every time I went to the field after that, I had about 10 live rounds on me, just in case
Right.
you got to fuck shit up.
Yep. You never know. And apparently there was also, I saw a video from this week earlier that apparently there was a Bigfoot sighting in Colorado.
Yes, sir.
So either someone's fucking around in a ghillie suit, or we got Bigfoot migrating south.
No, it was just me before I had coffee.
Well, it was not me, because I prefer to look for my dates in the cornfields and not the foothills.
So,
Wow.
So what did you guys think of my stories? I literally told stories for like an hour. Did I sound okay? Did I sound stupid? Or
No, they were fantastic, man.
Those were good. We always love the paranormal stories there, Pop.
Yeah.
So you gotta. Gee, I wonder who this is. Terry the Fat Fairy for wearing a tight shirt.
all right.
Over on Odyssey, Jackal. He's quickly writing 2 shorty stories to put in the gay mail.
Okay, cool.
All righty, let's see. I did happen to see we got one over here.
Yeah, and
From,
Rumble.
We got an email from Murdoch068. We can
Okay.
finish that one off at the end. It is quite long.
All
We'll
right.
definitely save that one for one in the chamber there. Let's see, jumping back over here to finish up the chats over on YouTube. Got a see Jackson Whittier, $20. Thank you very much, good sir. Said once I was hiking near Bend, Oregon, Lava Butte, and as I walked further in, I felt a presence like someone or something was watching me, and it intensified the further I went in. Eventually, I got so freaked out and left.
There you go. All right. Over on Rumble, really quick, we have Stasher for $5 on the Redonkulous side. We went to the beach. While we were swimming, we lost my keys. We spent 30 minutes looking for them. As we were walking back to our car, to figure out what to do, we heard them drop behind us. Interesting. That's no good.
No.
Well, at least you got your keys, though. All right. And then it looks like we got MGTOW Mando. This is over on my MGTOW for $2. Thank you, Mando. Just to make you feel special, Rhino. I appreciate it, man. Pretty much all of our guys are watching on the Redonkulous side because there's cross-pollination there. But thank you, Mando. I appreciate that.
He's jumping over on the Redonkulous side and says drops $3 just to mess with Rhino.
All right, I think we're all caught up on my side of things. I believe we are caught up on your side as well. So I'm going to jump into a couple here really quick.
We did have one. You've got one more? We did. Yep, we had one pop in on a YouTube side on the Redonkulous side. We got David McFarland dropping $20. Thank you very much, good sir. He says the stories are great, Popp. Yep,
thank you.
Everybody loves the paranormal shit.
Yeah, I didn't tell that story about when I went fishing while I was in New York and everything went silent.
That's never good.
That was fucking creepy.
No,
man.
Yeah. I've got something similar to that. I've actually got a couple in the chamber here, so I'm gonna jump in here and do my thing. I'll start off with the least eventful of them. So I was, as growing up, my dad was a radio DJ, radio station. He was an oldies DJ. And back in the day, he worked in, I don't want to give the radio station name away specifically, but he worked in a town in which there was a pretty severe flood. And apparently, the legend goes that there were some people that got trapped in the basement of this particular studio of the radio station. So the main radio station was up above, but he did some recording stuff down in a little tiny studio down there. And it was a creepy ass place. So he took me down there, and it's got like brick walls and it's all abandoned. There's only this one little recording room and like one other room off to the side, but the rest, there's like a stairway going up, and then the rest is just this brick wall. Now, in the back of that brick room is like this old, I don't know if it was a closet or what it was, but it looked, and this is where I don't know if my dad was screwing with me or what, but this is why this became really weird really quick. It looked like part of the wall was dug out, and my dad tells me, according to the story, that those were people trying to escape as the water was flooding in. They couldn't get out the other door. So I don't know if I put any merit into that, but this is where it gets weird. I'm about 7 years old at the time. And I kid you not, I see my dad walk down back towards his little studio to go into the recording room, but then he goes up the stairs, right? Mm-hmm. So I follow him up the stairs, and he's not there. He's not upstairs at all. And I'm yelling his name at this point, like, Dad, where are you? And he hears me, and he's down in the studio. So I watched him walk up the stairs, but he never walked up the stairs. So that was the first, I don't know what that was, but I clearly saw him walking up the stairs, and then he just disappeared up there. And then he was back in the basement.
That's creepy as fuck, bro.
Yeah, so that one was a little weird. I've kind of have a history of this. We get into another one. This one had a lot of stuff going on. So I lived out in, I can give that away. I don't really care. You guys already know most of my stories anyway. So I lived out in Black Forest, Colorado. If you don't know any of the stories out there, there's a lot of stuff that goes on there. But I lived out on a 32-acre property or something. And we had like an adjacent field with some trees out there. And I grew up with a buddy of mine. His mom was big into the spiritual stuff, and she said, look, some stuff happened out here. Apparently there was some kind of Native American massacre thing that happened in this particular area. So, me and my buddy, we'd go walking around out in these woods, just, fooling around. And it always had this really odd feeling. I don't know how to explain it. You just felt like something was there watching you, right? And, at first it was pretty intimidating, but I was always pretty respectful of the land, didn't do anything to irritate anything out there. And so at some point it became comfortable to go out there. I used to go out there, hang out, just spend, a couple hours in the wood, just hanging out, goofing off, whatever. Right. And one night, me and my buddy, there's a couple stories here. Me and my buddy are walking through the field. This is more towards my property. And we're just walking through the field, and there's normal noises. There's frogs, there's crickets, you hear all sorts of stuff out there. And all of a sudden, this is going back to what you were saying. Everything just went dead silent.
Yeah, everything with the wind.
Yeah, no, nothing. No wind, no nothing. Just everything just stopped. And I looked at him because there was already weird stuff we had encountered there. But I looked at him. I'm like, you notice anything? And he's like, no. I mean, yeah, but do you notice anything, like any noise? He's like, no, I don't. And all of a sudden, we hear these coyotes everywhere, which this sounds like, okay, coyotes, but they didn't sound like coyotes. They sounded like the screams of hundreds of people just going off all around us. And of course, we heard something running towards us, but there was nothing there. We just heard it. We started moving, like in case it is a coyote, like just, be calm, walk, hold your hands up, look big. We got halfway through that field and we're running because there's something behind us that we can't see. But the sounds were not coyotes. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't coyotes. It was similar, but not quite.
You probably did the right thing by running.
Yeah. So I continued living out there, went to high school out there, graduated out there, and there's lots of other weird events, but I noticed most of the time I'd go out there and it was a very peaceful feeling, very calm. Again, I respected that area. I didn't fool around, didn't do any like littering, destruction of property, any of that. And I would take other people out there and you'd get either a good experience or a very strange experience. One guy, this was after I graduated, I took him back out there because I almost like you could gauge people from this place. If it was a good person, this place would be all peaceful. If it was not, the story that I'm about to tell you happened. So I met a dude. We used to do a lot of, partying and stuff, hanging out in car clubs. And this dude said that he had fooled around back in the day with Ouija boards. Oh. And apparently had summoned something that followed him around. So I didn't really believe him. I'm always skeptical of these stories myself. But I'm like, all right, well, let's go drive out. I've got a cool place to show you. And it has some energy to it. Something's out there. And so I took him out there and it got really weird. Really weird, really fast. It got cooler out there. There was an owl that I could spend hours on these stories. There was an owl that used to follow me around. That thing landed on the tree and was watching. It's a great horned owl, and there's a history behind that. Like I said, that'd be a couple hours to go on all these stories. But that owl landed above us and was staring down. And then as he's talking to me, he's like, I don't see anything wrong with this place. Nothing weird out here at all. You heard what sounded like a large tree branch snap and fall behind him. But I'm looking right at him having this conversation. You hear it come down. You hear the crack and the thud, but there's no tree branch on the ground at all. And then from that point forward, started seeing these little white things floating through the forest. I'm like, nope. It's time to go. This place doesn't want this dude here. I brought somebody that shouldn't be here into this place. We get all the way back to the apartment that I lived at the time, and we're seeing these little things buzzing by as we're driving back home out of the forest. But we get to the apartment, and I kid you not, I can't get it out of my head to this day. I can describe it. I don't know what it was, but as we're walking back up to the apartment, there's a little sidewalk. There's grass on either side, but there's a little sidewalk. And as we're walking up, excuse me about that, you can hear what sounds like skipping rocks, like somebody threw them. And I'm looking at him like, are you screwing with me, man? He's like, I'm right here beside you. Obviously, I'm not screwing with you. But I'm like, nah, man, you're throwing rocks. And you hear it again. I'm like, all right. I'm done. We need to just get inside. This is done, right? As we walk closer to the apartment, I see this little guy. I don't know how to explain it. It looked like a shape like this, like an oval oblong thing, little tiny skinny legs, little tiny arms sticking out. And it just looked like it jumped out of the corner, like it was just laughing. but it wasn't a figure. Like, it didn't have defined features. It was like a white gray kind of blur. And then it just ducked back behind. That was the last night I ever spoke to that guy. Never hung out with him again. Never experienced anything like that again. But that was, yeah. So going back to that forest, let's go rewind. I'll Tarantino this story. There was all sorts of stuff that would happen out there. I remember this was sometime like my last year or so of high school, and I used to ride my bike everywhere. I rode it from the forest down in the city and back. I rode it everywhere. And because of that, I did a very good job maintaining this bike. I'd take it apart, I'd oil it, I'd put it back together, I'd make sure the chain was good, everything on it, the brakes. I did all my own repairs. And I made sure, because I was traveling miles away, that there was nothing wrong with it, nothing obvious that would happen to it. So I'm going down, coming back from the high school girlfriend at the time, coming back from her house, and I've got my headphones on. Lots of weird things with this thumping stuff in the forest. But I'm coming back down. My mom's driveway is one of those long dirt, like gravel driveways that feels like a mile long. And I'm going down this thing, and I get to the low point. Again, I got my headphones on, but I can clearly hear a thump. Sounds like somebody threw a big rock or something, right? So I get off my bike. I'm like, what happened here? I took off my headphones, and suddenly it's like, it was a summer, not a summer, but like early fall. So it's still warm outside, but the temperature just dropped right there. And it was just like chilly cold there. Didn't think too much of it. It was a little bizarre. And, I went about my way, got up to my mom's home at the time, and temperatures went back to normal. Here's where it's weird. Couple months later, going down the same thing, middle of the day, riding my bike, same spot that I heard that, just out of nowhere. I noticed something's wrong because my tire's rolling off to the side of my bike. Again, I do all my maintenance, so I know I didn't forget to tighten the bolt down, and I just skid, but I hit the ground in the same spot where that weird thing was happening. Like something actually popped off the tire there. I don't know. But like I said, that forest always messed with me. So, weird stuff. I've got one that, is kind of like after high school, moved out of town. And, this is more of one of these, urban legends. If you guys look it up, you can find it on the internet. So you can verify the location, but it's a place called Courner's Field. It's out in Colorado. I won't specify where. You want to drag it down, you can find it. I'll just say it's way out in the farmland in the middle of nowhere. And most of the farmland is normal. It's just crops and empty field and all of that, right? Courtner's Field, however, has a backstory behind it. And again, as legend goes, it probably got exaggerated. But from my understanding, Courtner planted this own field. He was a wealthy dentist or doctor or something, and he had his own family out there. So he planted a field of trees. He was wealthy enough to make his own little forest out there. And as you drive up there, you do see this forest and all these bent, weird, fence posts and everything. Very unsettling. Well, me and my buddies decided it was a brilliant idea to go out there in the middle of the night and investigate this area. Now, let me tell you the rest of the story. So, Courtner apparently at one point lost his mind, and I'll try to keep this YouTube friendly as best I can. He decided to go on a rampage and end his family, putting some of them up in the trees and then dismembering his wife in a bathtub. That's how the legend goes, right?
Okay.
And then I believe took his own life with a shotgun. That's my recollection of the story. Now, we go out there in the middle of the night, and of course, it's one of those just warped barbed wire type big, fences. And then you get to the gate. And the gate's all rusted. Looks like it hadn't been opened in forever. And we get it open. There's a big chain around it. We take the chain off and open it up. And we all walk out there in the middle of the night. Brilliant, as we were, thought we were invincible right after high school. So we all walk out there, and, it's creepy because it's the middle of the night and you're already, on high alert because of the story,
Mm-hmm.
And apparently it's super haunted out there. And we walk out there, and I guess the house was burnt to the ground at one point. So I don't know when or by who, but it was burnt to the ground. And we did find the house. And we walked up to it. And it was just a bunch of rubble. And apparently, a few friends of mine that had gone years before remember the tub that we're talking about was in the basement. It was one of those weird old tubs, kind of sat on its own with the legs.
Yeah.
Well, the tub was there. It was above ground, and it was sitting in the middle of this field, surrounded by all these trees, with this burnt down remains of this house. And the tub, granted, looked like something out of a horror movie. The paint was cracked and chipped, and you could see rust, and it just looked like, nope, this ain't right. And I do remember we saw an orb shoot out of that freaking thing. And then we heard a growling noise in the distance, and that was it, man. We were gone. So that wasn't a crazy story or anything, but we ran back to the car, and I'm like, because you could hear that thing, whatever it was, and I'm just like trying to get the keys in to unlock the doors. And it was an old beat up Astro van at the time. But yeah, Courtner's Field, if you've ever heard of it, or if you've ever been to Colorado and you haven't checked it out, it's probably still out there. Don't know what condition it was in, but yeah, a little orb shot out of that bathtub, and that was like, nope. And then you heard the crackling coming at you, and it's like, I'm good on that. All right. So yeah, there's one other one, and this one is probably my fondest of the stories I've told, but also one of the most bizarre. So, me and my buddy, we decided to get not an apartment, but a house together. We were both living in apartments and decided, his family had this house and they had 2 acres and it was kind of nice, so we'll go live on that, So we did, and everything was good. Nice house. It was old. It still had like the cast iron stove, and apparently it had been added on. It used to be like a little frontier type home. And, so we're living in there for a while, and weird things started happening. Initially, it was just bulbs burning out all the time. And it's like, okay, that's no big deal. Bulbs burn out. But it was rather consistent. Like I was always going to the store to buy light bulbs. And then I still have the smoker to this day. It's a fucking phenomenal smoker. But anyway, the fuse would always blow out on it. I have never had that issue since, by the way. But the fuse would always blow out on the smoker. And I was like, all right, it's just bad electrical wiring. It's an old house. It's got to be something goofy, right? So you have that, and there's other weird things that happen. You'd occasionally hear something scratching in the wall, and again, okay, maybe it's a mouse, right? It got really weird, though. At some point, I can't remember how long we'd been living there, maybe 6 months to a year, something like that. We lived there a couple of years. I would start hearing big band music, like old big band music. I'm like, all right, maybe the high school's playing. But I'd walk over to the other end of the property, and there was no lights on in the stadium. You could see it from there, and there was obviously nobody out there. And then the band music was on the other side of the field, 2-acre difference. So you heard it just kind of off in the distance, but it was on the other side of the field, right? So that was a little weird. And then the horses, the way they'd react when that would happen, they'd all walk up to the fence and they just blankly stare at you. Like all the horses from the next property over would just come up and just blankly stare like they were catatonic. Nothing at all. They didn't react to anything. They were just staring, right? So, all right, we live in this house a little bit longer. One day, I think it was me, my roommate, and then one of my girlfriends at that time. I think she had gone off to work. He was at work, and I was at home that day, and I had a phone charger in my bedroom. And, whatever phone it was at the time, maybe an LG, I don't know, smartphone. I had it plugged in, fully charged, and I walk out into the living room, and there's a ceiling fan above me. Well, anyway, my phone, there's a reason I mentioned the ceiling fan. The phone immediately just goes dead, and it was just charged, right? So now I'm like, okay. Again, I'm not thinking paranormal at the time. But then the fan comes to a stop above me. Just complete stop, right? So again, I'm not immediately thinking paranormal, but I go over to the light switch on the wall, turn it on and off, nothing. Start pulling the chain and messing with the light. I go over to the circuit breaker, nothing. I couldn't get this fan to turn on for the life of me. I was sitting there spinning it manually, thinking maybe it was just going dead, whatever. Just see if I can get some extra juice out of it, right? Nothing. Okay. So I tell my buddy this, and at this point I'm a little creeped out. I'm like, with everything that's happening, with the grill keep bursting out and the weird band music and the scratching in the wall and all this stuff, dude, that fan just like stopped right as I was underneath it, and my phone died. And he's like, man, there's nothing wrong with that fan. He walks over, he touches it. I shit you not, just touches it with his finger. He's probably watching tonight. He knows about the story that we're doing this show tonight. And he just touches it and it just starts back up. That tripped me out. All right. So at this point, I do contact a local priest that I knew. Part of and I don't think it's political, but he was part of the liberal Catholic Church. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that here. But yeah, liberal Catholic Church. I'm not going to give his name away, but I talked to him and he's like, yeah, you probably have some, residual energy type stuff, something negative in the home. Just do this prayer. He gave me a prayer. He gave me like some holy water, and just told me walk through the house and do this and do that. So me and my roommate and my girlfriend at the time all did this. And as we do it, everything's fine. Everything's just fine, right? As we're doing it, she just sits down in the floor in the back. There's like 2 family rooms. It was an addition, but there's like a front family room and a back family room. She just sits down in the middle of the floor in this back family room and just is non-reactive. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like she just went into meditation or a trance or something. Yeah. So it lasts a couple minutes. She does finally snap out of it. We finished the prayer because we were all supposed to do it together and walk through all the rooms of the house. So that was a little weird, whatever. And he said that should take care of it. Should go away at that point. Oh no. No, we made something angry. So the next day, we started hearing that clawing in the wall, but it was more obvious. Like both of us, me and the girlfriend at the time, were standing in that room in the bedroom. We both heard the clawing. It was like there was a bed in there, and then there was like a wicker, one of those wicker couches, love seats, little things, and you could clearly hear the scratching coming from behind that. One night, very shortly after that, she's in the kitchen and she swears she's hearing growling coming from the cabinets. I didn't hear it, but she swears she was hearing these growls coming from the cabinet. The lights started going out more and more. The fuses on the grill were going out. And I'm like, hey man, we did this prayer thing. We did all this. That didn't work. So he's like, all right, I'll come out. We'll take a look. So he brought himself and another woman out. And he walked through the house, did the whole thing. He's like, what you're dealing with here is a lower level intelligent entity. This is not what I thought it was. This is a serious deal. He pointed over to the living room in the same area that the scratching was coming from. Not exactly, but that same area. He said, this wall here was at one point all one room. And at some point, somebody did some renovation, put this wall up. What happened here is a portal was open. This house was built in like 1913, something like that. So it had been around a while. He said it had opened up some kind of portal and something from below had entered, and because we had disturbed that house. Whoever had built that addition disturbed the house. So he goes through, he does an actual exorcism on the home. He does the holy water. He's got the little thing. He's got the little sprayer thing. It's like, it's got the water in it, and he sprays it on the walls. So he gets to that room, and we're watching him do all this. He gets to the room where he said this happens. And I know there's no trickery here. I can see him. The water's hitting the wall. Nothing bad's happening. When he hits that room, it's not a lot, just a couple, but it's a couple little red drops start appearing on that wall, start running down.
Oh, no.
All right. Yeah.
Bad.
All right. So whatever that was, this is thankfully where the story ends. He sits down all 3 of us. He does, the exorcism on us just in case it tries to move into us. And the house is normal after that. The fan never stops again. The phone never dies again. No fuses blow out in the grill. None of the light bulbs blew out except for like one here or there. And that was the end of it. But yeah, that goes to tell you, if you're in a place where there's some kind of activity and it seems to be getting worse, don't fool with it. Don't try to handle it yourself. Call somebody, Because the second we intervened and tried to do something to calm whatever it was down or get the negative energy out, it retaliated, and it was quite a bit more obnoxious after that. So, but yeah, those are a few of my stories. I've got more, but like I said, it would take a while to get into. But
God,
yeah,
that just sounds horrible.
so that's some of my experiences. Jimmy, I know you had a little brief one. Get into that one.
Seeing that. Your guys' stories are a lot better than mine because I've only had like 2 or 3 paranormal episodes that happened to me. My first one, my cousins and I were playing hide and seek in my grandma's house. This was way before because both my grandparents are passed away right now, and the house that they lived in was completely fucking leveled and whatnot. But when we were playing hide and seek one time, no one went upstairs for some odd reason. I don't know why. It is what it is. But I decided, I'm like, oh yeah, because it was just a regular staircase. You go up and then it turns and a couple flights of stairs. And I hid behind the upper level where the 2 attics or whatever you mean, or whatever they are that met. And I just sat behind that landing. There's a piece of plywood, so you can't look down, can't look up. And there was a rocking chair like 2 feet away from me where I was crouched down hiding. And I did not touch that rocking chair or anything. The next thing I know, I look over and, I hear everybody talking downstairs. Oh, where's Jimmy? Where's Jimmy? And I just happen to be like, I'm quietly giggling and whatnot. Nah, no one's going to find me because no one comes upstairs. Well, I look behind me and that rocking chair is going back and forth like someone is actually comfortably rocking back and forth in it, not like a slow rock back and forth. there someone is sitting in that chair and they're actively rocking back and forth, and I could feel something. And I was like, something's looking at me. And that's when I looked over and I saw that rocking chair. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and go back downstairs now.
Yeah,
because I'm like 6 or 7 years old and I'm freaked out because I haven't seen this fucking, I don't see this. I didn't touch that chair or anything. My second one, I was hanging out with my buddy's girlfriend at the time, because I didn't have any really good friends at the time and whatnot. So I was hanging out with them. It was me and my buddy's girlfriend. We were hanging out at their place. And according to her statements and whatnot, she's more like in tuned to the paranormal, so she can see apparitions and all of that and whatnot.
Fuck that. No.
Yep. So we were hanging out there and everything was all good. We're just sitting there watching TV, playing video games, and having a and whatnot. And all of a sudden she goes quiet and I look over and I was like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "I'm seeing 2 or 3 things." Oh, and I'm looking around and I'm trying to, of course I can't do it, but I'm trying to get my mindset into that kind of, I can't remember what you call it, but we started doing a kind of like a ghetto spirit box thing. Like I just pulled up my phone and I hit record. So I was recording video and we were asking questions and whatnot. Of course, we didn't pick anything up on that, but we went to the back room because it was in a trailer. So you got the back room in the trailer, and then you got the hallway looking down into the kitchen. And I just decided to start taking pictures with and without flash on it. There was one picture that picked up that with the flash, and of course they had 2 puppies and a cat at the time, and they were nowhere near where I was taking the pictures and whatnot. And I took this one picture, and you can see very clearly a bright green light right at the base of the fridge.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not good.
But other than that, those are my paranormal stories, just because I think, ghosts and the and all the afterlife, like, oh, this guy's pretty fucked up and messed up, so let's go ahead and leave him alone. Which is why I've gone through, what is it, 6 night terror demons now.
Right.
So, I've got Kevin right now. He's pretty chill dude, but hopefully I don't hear any more Crusader Nate or MGTOW Mando stories
Well, you will
that make Kevin say, you know what, fuck this guy, fuck his friends, I'm out of here. Kevin's a good dude, man.
Yeah. All right. We're about to take a break and then we'll bring the panel on. I know they've been patiently waiting. But yeah, before we do that, I've got a couple more chats I saw that I want to get into. This one, Popp, I think it was a very good question for you, but I don't know if you know the answer. Shrapnel on the Redonkulous YouTube for $2 says, Battle Buddy is possessed. What do you do?
Oh, that's bad. Go get the goddamn chaplain. That's the first one you get. I mean, take away his weapon so he doesn't kill you, and contain the situation as best you can. That's never a good thing.
No, not at all. All right. We've also got over on the Redonkulous Rumble side of things, the real stag for $1. Wait until Bigfoot moves back north in Wyoming. His ass will be on display at Valley Foods in Saratoga the next week. There you go.
Now, listen, I don't want to be the guy who shoots Bigfoot.
No.
I do not want that kind of fame. I'm good.
Yep.
So unless he's like, trying to actually kill me, I'm just going to let him be. I don't need that bad karma or whatever. I'm not shooting Bigfoot.
I concur. All right. We've also got the real stag again here on Rumble for another $1. Popp, I hope Blake left my PD ghost story for you to read. It was messed up.
All right, cool.
All right.
We'll see if we can get to it. If not, I will cover it on another show.
Perfect. All right. We've got Mountain Man 9395 on Rumble as well for $5. My wife, my then wife, and I were visiting a mausoleum one winter evening in Evansville to pay our respects to her late grandmother. All kinds of sounds like doors closing and sharp noises. No one except us. No, thank you.
Yeah, some of that mausoleum shit. Yeah, I was watching I love to watch scary videos on YouTube and Rumble, but they were showing this one video of he's basically a security guard at a cemetery. And he's literally going into this huge mausoleum, and you can plain as day at normal tones, there's like a child talking to this guy. And I'm like, and he's like turning around with the camera. What the fuck? There's nothing there, man. And it was like 10, 11 at night. No, thank you.
Yep. Good. Pass on that. All right. Jimmy, do you see any others floating around, or are we all caught up?
Let's see. Over on YouTube, we got Shrapnel with $2. He says,
we just got that one, sir.
Oh,
yep.
You got that one. Sorry, I was
all good, man.
On something else. Let's see. Did you cover Rumble?
Got Rumble, got YouTube. We've got Odyssey and D Live.
What about MGTOW?
MGTOW,
check on MGTOW as well.
There is nothing on MGTOW.
Okay.
Other than the lone MGTOW Mando chat there. Let's see, jump over to D Live here. See if anybody sent in some lemons. No lemons. Damn it! What are we supposed to make with our vodka?
Well, it's Friday. We don't usually get a lot of people on the Friday stream.
That's all right. But yeah, if you got YouTube and everything else covered here, let's see. Odyssey, did you cover that one?
No, we have not covered Odyssey yet.
Alrighty, I've got that one open up here. Got Ali Card 1776. Said, I had the same feeling that someone or something was watching me, and sometimes I avoid the back streets where I live.
It's good plan.
What's wrong with that?
Yep. And we got Agent of Social Media Chaos here with 2 back-to-back. Says, I think I might have lived in 2 haunted houses growing up. one in Gunnison, Colorado, where I was 8 or 9, where the kitchen light cover mysteriously fell from the ceiling for no apparent reason.
Mm.
And his second one here, the second was in Grand Junction, Colorado. Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's some weird stuff out there.
Yep. Which I lived in from when I was 11 until I was 16. And the basement stairs always mysteriously smelled like cigarettes and ketchup.
Mm.
That's another common thing. A lot of haunted houses, they have like weird odors that come and go.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like my mother swears that, my grandmother comes to visit her from time to time because she smells her perfume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's always the, what is it? The sense of, there's always a scent from smell that always triggers memories within you.
Yes,
Mhm.
it does. Yeah.
So
Smell is the number one stimuli that triggers memories.
Yep.
Yeah. And every now and again I'll smell cigar smoke, and I assume that's probably my grandfather on my father's side showing up, because he always had a stogie in his hand or in his mouth.
Could very well be, yeah. All right. We all caught up on the honesty side of things?
let's see, Odyssey is all caught up. We got
All right.
H12 dropping in with $2 over on YouTube. He says, thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
And
it.
we do have a few emails sent in. We got one from Murdoch 068, and we got Jackal's 2 stories.
Oh, yeah.
We can go ahead and take a piss break and all that good stuff.
All right.
Billy's got something to promote for himself.
Yes. So what's going on here is, if you caught Billy's last year October Halloween episode, he did a phenomenal job going in this abandoned location and filming documentary style some pretty creepy stuff. Well, it turns out there's a season 2. We're going to check that out now. It's coming out October 30th. So if you have not subscribed to Billy Von Baum and you want some more Halloween and haunted and all that good stuff themed material, I would strongly recommend checking this out, because it sounds like it's going to be great. We will see you in about 4 minutes. We're going to bring the panel on, have them tell some of their stories, read some emails, and then call it a night. Here we go.
All right.
Last year, for Halloween, I brought you to one of the scariest places I know of. This year, I plan to take you somewhere equally as scary for Halloween. Join me Monday, October 30th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll take you places you don't want to be caught dead in.
All right, that is definitely something I'm looking forward to checking out. Yeah, if you haven't already, head over to billywonbaum.com. You can also find him on YouTube. Just look up Billy Von Baum and you'll be able to check out that episode. All right, let's go ahead and bring in the panel. They have been patiently waiting. So here we have Crusader Nate. Welcome to the show, sir. Oh, he's muted. Crusader, are you there?
He's beating off.
Oh,
No,
there
I'm
he
not.
is.
I just had everything double muted here. Had the mic muted, had the program muted, and everything else. So, yep, just sitting here quietly, just waiting my turn, just waiting and hanging out.
I'm just
Excellent.
fucking with you, bro. I'm just fucking with you.
All
I know.
right.
That's what it's all about.
We also have Migdal Mando. We'll go ahead and bring you into the show now, sir. How are you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm good. I am looking forward to sharing a couple of the weird stories I picked up on active duty.
Oh,
Excellent.
shit.
Yeah. All right. We've also got Tommy D. Welcome, Tommy D.
You fuckers woke me back up, man. Come on. Oh, damn, it's been a long week.
I hear you. All right. And then finally tonight we have Corn Popp. Welcome to the show, sir.
All right. Don't call me sir. I got enough of that shit in the army.
All right. Fair enough. All right, gentlemen. So we'll start in the order that we brought you on. Crusader, I'm going to go ahead and start you off. Let's talk about your paranormal stories.
Well, I have a couple. One I've shared with most of you guys backstage. I know some of you guys have said it made your skin crawl. It's one I was going to write out for Popp, but it's kind of long and detailed. I was living in Salt Lake. I was working as a contractor. A buddy of mine owned a nightclub. It was like 3.5 floors. The building was built in like 1848, 1849. It was an old saloon. Yeah, well, slightly. It was originally it had a clay furnace in it for making pottery and dishware and things like that. Then it turned into a saloon and a brothel. Then it was abandoned for 75, 80 years. Then it was turned into a flop house where they just had random rooms for homeless, people who were looking for a place to live, could just, spend a night as needed. So what we would do is, everything got gutted, cleaned out, and turned into a nightclub after. It was about 40,000 square feet. All the security guys and everybody who worked there wouldn't go up to the third or fourth floor. So my buddy who owned the club, he was worried about, having problems with people stashing away, and people were starting to get the idea that nobody would go up to the third, and fourth partial floor. So I would work another job and he would call me to come over and, walk through it at the end of the night. So they'd kick everybody out at last call about 1:30. I'd roll in like 12:30, 1 o'clock, kind of hang out a little bit, and all the security guys, nobody went up there. And I'd go up and I'd walk through it, and we'd shut the place down, have a little after party, have a beer or so after, and hang out. And those guys, everybody likes to mess with everybody else, and you hang out in an after party, things like that. People pass out on couches, things like that, tie shoelaces together, do stupid stuff. But I noticed the basement and the first floor, everybody would sleep down there. Nobody would go up to the third floor. Like, everybody avoided that floor like the plague. Nobody ever went up there on their own. So I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to go and hang out and walk to this floor, I'm going to crash up there. No one's going to mess with me. So I'd take a big 32-ounce glass, fill it with ice and water. I'd walk through, make sure everything's fine, radio through, everything's clear. And then at the end of the night, I'd put my glass of water down on a table, crash on a couch for about 3-4 hours, get up and go back to work. Well, I was around this time of year. It was just before Halloween, about 20 years ago. I go up the south staircase, which is about 10 to 12 feet wide, and it, kind of switch backs to go all the way up to the second floor, and you have to cross to the north side of the building to get to the little partial fourth floor. So I come up the staircase, turn left, facing west. I see the bar. It's about 35 feet, and there's a little mezzanine that looks over to the second floor, which is kind of a dance floor area. And just as soon as I get to the end of the railing on the right-hand side, about 130 feet roughly away from me, I see a blonde woman in a white dress looking down at her hands. And it's fairly dimly lit. And I got my radio, my earpiece, and I'm like, female, third floor, north staircase, now. And I shine my light on her. You know, it was kind of lit up there. And I went in a dead out sprint as fast as I can go. She looked at me and went right. It would be her left, which is down the staircase. And I ran that 100 and some feet across there in a split second. And I leap down the first set of stairs, take the left, leap down the next set of stairs, make it around the corner, and just go bounding down the stairs to get down. And Joe, one of the security guys, was at the bottom of the stairs, waiting at the door. And as I'm hauling down the stairs, I see his head peek around through the door. He opens the door and he looks. He's like, "Dude, there's nobody here." I'm like, "What do you mean there's nobody here?" And he's like, "Where'd you see? What did you see?" And I said, "I saw a blonde-haired white woman, about, I'd say 5'5", 5'6", about 115, 120 pounds. She had blue eyes, wearing a long white dress, hair's kind of disheveled and braided." I said, "It looked like she was barefoot." And he started chuckling. I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Dude, let's go look at the security cameras." Because I know I ran past 2 cameras. So we go up to the office, we look at the cameras, and there were older cameras, are kind of grainy, kind of skipping a little bit. And you didn't see you see me come bolting down the stairs, but didn't see anything in front of me. So I'm like, you know what? Late, tired, must have saw something,
Right.
must be, just exhaustion. So, but I noticed nobody ever went up to that floor. So, a year or two later, every weekend I'd go over there, clear that floor, hang out, have a beer or two, crash on the couch upstairs on the third floor. And I take my boots off, and I put my boots on the north end of the couch, put my head on the south end, and put a glass of water on the table there. And then I would notice the glass of water would move. Like I'd put it right next to where my shoulders would be, and I would find it. I'd wake up 2-3 hours later, and it's near where my ankles would be, on like a coffee table at the foot of the couch, in front of the couch. And then I noticed my boots would move. They would be, instead of with the heels of my boots against the couch, they would be my toes of my boots stuffed under the couch. Like, okay, that's kind of messed up.
Yeah.
So I would go up there repeatedly and walk through that floor. I'd find TVs turned on. So I'd go up, turn the TV. I didn't really think anything of it. And this happened probably another year or so after. I'd always go up. Some of the TVs would just always turn on. So I remember going up and I unplugged them. And Aaron, one of the guys that would watch, on the security cameras, and he calls me on the radio. He's like, "Hey, Nate." He's like, "North end flat panel's still on." I'm like, "It's impossible. I unplugged it." And just as soon as I turn around and go right back up that north end staircase, I can see the bright light of that big flat panel TV lighting up that whole room. And just as soon as I got there, the TV went black. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I go and I unplug the TV, made sure it's unplugged, slung the cord over the screen so the plug would hang over the screen. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And I've gone up there a couple of times and I thought I saw the same girl. And I was talking to one of the other security guys that worked there. And he looks at me, he goes, "So you saw her?" And I said, "Saw who?" And he said, "This building," that's what he said, "this building used to be a saloon and a brothel, used to be a flop house. And when it was a saloon and a brothel, there was a young blonde woman who was orphaned by her family when they came out west to build a lot of stuff in Utah for the Mormon church. She had nowhere to go, nothing to do. The only thing she could do was work in the brothel. She didn't like what she was doing and what she had to do, so she hung herself on the third floor."
God damn.
So I would routinely, after that, I'm like, okay, I didn't really believe in it. So So I'd go up there and I'd talk to her. I'm like, hey, everything's all right. I'm just doing the usual walkthrough. You see me do this all the time. And I'd go up there again. End of the night, catch a couple hour nap before I have to take off back to work. I'd put my boots down and I would put my glass of water near my ankles just to kind of sample things a little bit.
Yeah.
And I would wake up, a couple hours later, and the glass of water would move from my ankles to my shoulder height.
Mm.
It would move right across the table towards me. And my boots would be slid over, so if I sat up in the middle of the couch, my boots would be on my right-hand side. Like, as I started talking to her, like, even though I didn't really believe in any of this until I actually saw some of the stories a few years later. And I would go up there all the time and do that. And I was back there in 18, and a friend of mine bought the building. And he said they have had so many problems on that floor in that area that they refuse to remodel it, refuse to touch it. Crews refuse to go up there to work on it. It's literally a completely abandoned floor. Nobody will go up there. I'm like, you mind if I go up there? And he's like, if you go, you're going on your own. Like, guy owns the building and is absolutely petrified to go up there. And I went up there and it felt like I was going home. Like, there was like that welcoming feeling, like everybody else got creeped out of being up there, but I would go up there. And when I was up there in 18, I was walking through, kind of checking everything out, bringing back old memories. I just looked at it, I'm looking around. I'm like, all right. I'm like, great to see you again. Sorry I've been away for so long. And I could have swore right as I was walking, I heard a woman's voice say bye.
Yeah, it's quite possible.
Yeah. I've had moments like that in that building repeatedly over a 7 or 8 year period of time in that same area. But yeah, going back in that area, I know a lot of guys that, used to work in that building. Like, yep, that place is haunted. Nope, we're not going anywhere near there. Yeah, that place is frightening.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah, so there's that one. And like I said previously, a buddy of mine bought an old vaudeville theater and was restoring it. And I've been in there, just he and I, we'd be walking around checking things out. You could hear what sounded like the old Victrola record player has a specific sound to it. You could hear that in the green room area when there's nothing in there. You can hear like the tick, 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 tick of some of the old silent projectors, like the old reel-to-reel film players.
I wouldn't have set foot in there.
You could hear that. You could hear that coming from the photo booth up top.
No.
A lot of that might be residual.
Yeah, like and my buddy that he tried to have crews go in there and restore it to try and do plays and things like that in there and kind of use it as a a performing arts private location. But he said all the crews, they would go in there and they would see or they would hear something or things would be moved. So he said the safest thing he could have done, he just demolished the entire facility and rebuilt a brand new place and made it an art gallery. And I guess now that art gallery is haunted.
Oh my God.
So, and that's when he knew he fucked up.
I would have loved to go there and check that out.
Right?
Yeah.
Heck
Well, the
yeah.
nightclub is still open. I can get us in there.
Oh,
There you go.
Is that third floor still there?
Yeah, still there.
What city is this in?
Salt Lake City.
I might have to check that out, brother.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just have to talk to a buddy of mine. It'd probably take maybe a 20-minute phone call and be like, dude, just can we rent out the third floor for an entire night? He'd be like, sure, no big deal.
I
There
would
you
definitely
go.
be for that.
Yeah.
Right?
But there's that one, and then a girl I was dating around the same time, she heard about the Stanley Hotel, and she wanted to go stay at the Stanley Hotel. And no matter where I went, on the grounds, you walk the grounds, you walk the road, you walk the pathways, the trails around there. Dude, I have never felt like I was living inside of a fishbowl until I got close to that place. Don't ask me why.
Well, yeah, I'm a firm believer that there are energies out there that our physics and our science knows nothing about. And I mean, how else could you explain, like, red pill Rhino in that little haunted forest area.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's obviously something going on there that it's beyond our senses, but it's still there.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
You get a lot
And
of like, I don't believe it. That's a bunch of bullshit. I'm like, bro.
Yep.
Nah.
And Global Theater here, just to jump in the chats here real quick with $5. He's asking this question, and it's a very damn good question. How would you explain God allowing these spirits to dwell down here versus either be in a better place or their final judgment place?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, like the whole heaven and hell thing we have, I mean, it's what, the heaven and hell came, what was it? The Jewish faith came up with something similar, and then it developed from there, and it's maybe 2,000 years old. Our belief that everything works. We don't know.
Sorry.
Yeah, we don't know how that works.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, something I'd like to point out, when you look at physics, and I think it's the laws of thermodynamics, it says that energy cannot be created nor destroyed.
Correct.
The human consciousness is essentially just a collection of electrical impulses being passed around inside of this little meaty sack we call a brain.
Yeah.
So telling me or saying that you can't create or destroy energy, but at the same time, after somebody's heart stops beating, that the energy that goes into your consciousness no longer exists, that has never sat well with me.
That doesn't
right.
flow with me.
Yeah.
Because essentially you're saying that one type of energy lasts forever and another type of energy just goes bye-bye.
Yeah.
Here's another thing. It's like I watch a lot of those ghost videos, and some of those where they put up a static cam and they're looking at a room or something.
Mm-hmm.
You see literally shit moving,
Mm.
cupboards opening, shit thing thrown out. When you see that, you know that our knowledge of physics is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because we cannot fucking explain that, but there's some force that's doing it.
Absolutely.
Well, one thing I'd point out too is that not all the Christian religions necessarily believe everyone goes straight to heaven or hell. So I mean, like the Catholics have the concept of purgatory, where if you have kind of disordered attachments or sins you need to work with, you're kind of stuck dealing with it, and the doctrine on how that happens isn't really clear.
Yeah.
So like the official position is kind of yes, ghosts can exist.
So what
It's only a small percentage of people who go directly out.
So what you're saying is purgatory is where you go to get your pee-pee spanked for a while.
Yeah. and their official position is kind of ambiguous on whether that could involve the lot being a ghost for a long time or not.
Yeah. I don't know.
There you go.
I all I can say is when it's my turn, I have no desire to hang around here at all.
Right.
Yep.
All right. We got another chat here I'll jump into really quick. I got Alex Patino here for $10 over on the Redonkulous side. I don't have any paranormal stories like you guys, but the closest one I have is one of my battle buddies that I deployed with to Iraq when he's been gone for almost 10 years, and he would come and visit me in my sleep.
That's very common, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Very common. When my buddy Richard died, I had a couple dreams about him. The first one was like a few days after he had passed. The second one was like 3 or 4 weeks later. I haven't had it happen since, but yeah.
Yep.
I'm a firm believer in that.
Yep.
There is always the energy that it still persists, and it will find a way to come visit us.
Right. Do have another one over here from the Real Stag, $1 on Rumble on the Redonkulous side. Resent the PD ghost story as a forward, so we'll have to check out the emails. Jimmy, while you're doing that, let's jump into Mando's stories here really quick, so we can keep on rolling through.
Okay. Well, I've got a couple of them. First of all, before I jump into either of the active duty ones, This is something that you all might find weird. It's not exactly a ghost story per se. Back when I was the summer between my sophomore and junior year of high school, my sister wanted to go and visit the house that Laura Ingalls lived in when she was writing the Little House on the Prairie books.
Mm.
Well, because we lived in Southwest Missouri, that wasn't a huge issue. My mom just took a couple days off from work, and we drove up there and drove back. Now, we didn't take the same route back because there was some additional errand my mom wanted to run on the way. And they insisted on bringing my sister's three-legged dog. There's a reason for that. While we were on the way back, we drove through this town called Twin Bridges. On one side of the town of the one road I saw in this town was something called Empire Ranch. Opposite side, Republic Ranch. First bridge we passed over, old style wrought iron construction bridge. Didn't think anything about it. Didn't think all that much weird about it. We go around through the rest of the town. I look back as we're going over the second bridge, which was more of a suspension type job. And I look back, and the first bridge, there is a void beneath it. It's like someone literally took a hole punch and punched out a piece of reality. There was nothing there.
Fuck that.
Where this gets even more bizarre was my sister's dog was a Rottweiler something else mix.
Mutt.
Nice,
Big mutt.
nice, yeah, nice dog most of the time, but very excitable.
Hmm.
And I always hated having to travel with that thing because it never would stay off of me. The entire time we were in that town, that dog was in the floorboard whimpering.
Oh.
And
All right.
once we got out of the town, my mom turns around and asks me, "Did you see any people, birds, anything?" I'm like, "No, actually, come to think of it, I didn't see anyone. I didn't see any sign of life aside from grass and trees." Well, school started up about 2-3 weeks later, and I go into the computer lab, and I decide to look up Twin Bridges, Missouri. The computer fried itself rather than giving any kind of information whatsoever. And the guy who ran the computer lab opened it up, and the entire innards was just completely cooked.
Yikes.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, I have never Googled that town again. I don't want to go anywhere near it again. About 2-3 years after basic training, when I went to active duty, I had a dream where I was getting out of a Black Hawk helicopter. I assume it was some kind of air assault type thing. And there were weird beams of multicolored lights shooting out of the void underneath that bridge.
Okay.
I never want to go anywhere near that place again.
But you know, here's a common thing. Like military bases or battlegrounds are crazy haunted.
And that's where we're going to get into my second one for you, Pop. You're going to like
Bring
this.
it on, baby. I want to hear this one.
You've been to National Training Center on Fort Irwin, correct?
Fuck you. Yes.
Okay.
The only thing I like about that place is the original Del Taco is in the nearest city.
Not anymore.
You're being more charitable than I am.
Well, did either one of you ever go anywhere near training area 42 on that post?
I don't remember exactly. If I'm recalling correctly, I think we did some machine gun training out that way.
I have been all over that post doing maneuvers, training other people. I absolutely hate that place, and I hate living in the chicken shack buildings.
Okay, well, I was in a armored unit I was in a logistics unit from Fort Riley that was there for rotation. They decided that since that area was far enough away from where the quote unquote action was going to be. That'd be a good spot to set up the talk.
Oh no.
We set up there, and the very first night we are there, and I'm on talk watch for that first night. All the computer monitors start flickering, flashing. It looks like a scene from Star Trek when they're in the middle of a firefight.
Hell no to the no,
And-
no.
Well, and two of the monitors would constantly come up with things that looked a lot like faces.
Hmm.
The battalion chaplain was in there just doing checks on people. He sees this and he goes, "Yeah, we need to move in the next 24 hours."
Yeah.
Well, even if you don't, the computer's going wrong. It is the kind of thing that'll make an 04 flip their shit.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, the even more fucked up part of this, the very next morning, when I'm getting relieved, I'm standing up from the radio after having given my back brief to the person that's taken over for me.
Mm-hmm.
The chair I'm in collapses underneath me and leaves me with a good 4-inch gash on my left arm.
Mm.
These chairs are rated for people. Well, they're rated for Gorlock the Destroyer. And the fact this thing completely just collapsed under me, everyone was like, "Whoa, what the hell? You're not that heavy." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Can someone give me a bandage of some kind, please?" I go back to my tent, the little sleep tent that I was issued.
Mm-hmm.
I lay down after getting patched up by the medic. And 10 minutes later, we're getting the everyone get off your butts, get up, you're jumping the talk.
Yep.
The sergeant major comes in there, and apparently the radio decides that's the time it wants to start describing exactly what his wife is doing at that moment.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, we're moving.
And apparently it was bad enough that they got a divorce shortly thereafter.
Wow.
Shocker.
Wow. That's a hell of a story.
Hang on, I got one from the Ranger Battalion. So, I did 26 months in the Ranger Battalion, and I ETS'd off active duty my first time in I think it was the middle of July of 91. Well, my unit got called to go do counter drug stuff in South America. So they're like, "Okay, Popp, here's the keys to the building. We've already cleared you of most of your stuff. Just, go in the supply room and just leave your linen and everything. You're good to go." I'm like, okay. So I lived in that empty barracks for about, I think, 7 or 8 days, because I still had to clear a few things on post, but not actually in my unit. And with nobody in the building, I came to realize just how fucking haunted that barracks was. Because over the years, they've had people shoot themselves, hang themselves, drug overdoses, dudes get beat to death, die in training accidents, die of natural causes, alcohol poisoning, which is actually fairly common. So a lot of people had died in the barracks over the years. And I'm in my room. It's about 11 o'clock at night, and I hear a TV come on, and it's loud. So I'm like, "God damn it. Somebody has one of those timers." I'm like, "Fucking A." I go get the keys. It's a huge key ring, and every lock in the building it's on that key ring. I find the room number. It's on the second floor, almost directly above me. I was on the ground floor because I was in an NCO room. Open the door. As soon as I open the door, TV shuts off. I go look and see if it's plugged into a timer. No, it's not. I'm like, "Oh, that's great." Okay. I shut the door. I'm like, "Okay, I am going to sleep on the other end of the building in my buddy's room, because I don't even want to be on this haunted side." And a couple times in the middle of the night, I'd get up to take a piss, And I'm walking to the bathroom, and every one of the doors for every soldier has a padlock with a key on the outside. And when you go on deployment, they lock it with that. And when you come back, they unlock it, and then you have your own combination. Well, I'm walking down the hall, and I'm hearing locks, like somebody's flicking the locks, as you know, not as I walk by, but you know, about 20, 30 feet behind me. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is off the fucking hook. It was a long 8 fucking days, and I was glad to be the fuck out of there.
Oof. Yeah.
Okay. But the last one I'm going to share with you guys tonight,
All right.
because I am going to be doing kind of a similar stream to this tomorrow, going more
Excellent.
focusing on cryptids.
Okay.
But my first or second active duty assignment was Fort Hood, Texas.
Oh, goddamn.
Oh no.
We had
I
just come
definitely do.
we had just come back from deployment, and this was probably about 5 months before a certain major decided to play Chitty Chitty Bang Bang in the SRP site. Well, I'm on CQ. It's around 1:30-ish in the morning. Since I'm fighting the Z monster, I look at the NCO that I'm on CQ with, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and go do checks. He's like, yeah, hey, go knock yourself out. Just be careful on the 3rd floor at this hour.
Oh,
I
that's
was like, okay, I'm sure it's nothing. Now, if you can picture in your head the layout of this building, when viewed from the top, it looks like the capital letter H.
they're all like that, yeah.
And in the center of what is supposed to be the front of the building, between the two legs, there is a third part of it that is where the day room is and all the other stuff that is supposed to be used when soldiers aren't on duty. Well, I'm up on the 3rd floor. It's an open air walkway. It looks like a nice building until you have to be there at night. I walk past this room that is unoccupied. It's been long-term unoccupied, and I didn't think anything of it until this night. I walk past it. I check the doorknob, make sure nothing's loose or whatever. And as I'm walking away, I feel something shove me as though it's trying to push me over the edge of the railing. And because of where it is, I would have landed on top of the skylight that would have led into the day room.
Oh,
That's bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I managed to keep a good enough grip that I don't go over the rail. Needless to say, I hurry my ass up, finish the rest of my checks, get downstairs. I'm probably white as a sheet. My NCO looks at me and goes, let me guess, 312. Like, yeah, 312, 313. He goes, sit down. I need to tell you something.
Oh,
Here we go.
Well, no one ever goes past that particular wing on the barracks from a period of time after midnight until 2:30 in the morning. Because there was an alleged suicide, self-deletion. Sorry, I might have just got your channel dinged from the S word.
Fine.
But there was an alleged self-deletion out of that building where the individual went through the skylight into the day room, and is ironically enough the reason we didn't have a pool table in that barracks.
Somebody's got to fuck it up for everyone.
Yeah, in more ways than one.
yikes.
I'm like, okay, well, that's bad. He goes, yeah, it gets worse.
Oh,
Allegedly, this guy was one of those individuals who liked to play with the boards and the cards, and may or may not have drawn a symbol on the wall that kind of incorporated a star and an animal head.
oh boy.
Yep.
Well, I'm like, okay, so you're telling me I just got attacked by a demonic entity? He goes, yeah, you're taking this pretty well. I'm like, yeah, because quite frankly, if I lose my shit right now, what are you going to do? You're going to look at me and go, calm the fuck down, go get a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, you got a point there. I'm like, I'm just not going to go anywhere near that particular room again. He goes, generally speaking, we don't let anyone go near that room unless there's at least 2 people with them.
Did I ever tell the story about I lived with a devil worshiper once?
Oh,
Yeah. Yes.
I think you've told the story about the devil worshiper in your unit.
He was in my room when I was
Okay.
Yeah. That was interesting.
yikes.
But yeah, that
Sometimes.
was probably the most messed up time I ever had on CQ in my 13 years active duty.
I would say that's pretty
Well,
messed
you know,
up. Yeah.
That's a very You're going to remember when an entity from another plane attacks you. I mean, it's going to happen. You're just going to remember that forever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
And
anyway,
actually,
the devil worshiper I lived with.
oh yeah.
So I was in the 9th ID, and I got sent away for I think it was 21 days to drive a deuce and a half for the 247 infantry. And when I left, I basically had my own room. I mean, there was 4 bunks in there, and I just lived in one, and it was all empty. So I get done with the duty, and I parked, I PMCS, I clean the truck, I turn it in. I'm coming back to the barracks. It's Friday night, and there's just maybe 6-8 people who are out front of the barracks, and they're like freaking out. Guy's got a Bible and everything, and I'm walking by, and this guy named Myers, he's like, "Hey, Popp, they moved that devil worshiper into your room," and I don't even remember the guy's name. I mean, he already got like 2 Article 15s. He was a head case. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't give a shit. I don't believe in that stuff. I walk up there, and yeah, I put my stuff on my bed, and I notice there is a pentagram in white sand on the floor, and it's about 8 feet in diameter. And I look over and I go, "What the fuck are you doing?" He goes, "I'm worshiping." I'm like, "Yeah, on your half of the room." And I get the broom and I sweep the shit over there. And then I take out the masking tape and I put a dotted line. And I go, "Anything you fucking summon is not fucking invited on my half of the room." Fuck you.
Right.
And
Yeah, fucking put out the salt lines and fucking light the sage there,
Right.
Pop.
yeah, and he got all upset. And he got up like he was going to fight me. And I go, "Dude, I'm going to wear your fucking ass out.
Yeah.
Let's do this." So he
Phrasing, Pop. Phrasing.
And he decided not to fight.
Mm-hmm.
So we came to a compromise. So I basically got a 4x4 piece of plywood. I said, "All right, draw your shit out on this. You do what you got to do on your side of the room. Just no more of this fucking sand bullshit. I'm not having it in my room."
Oh,
But everyone was flipping out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But nothing happened. I mean, it wasn't haunted out. He was only there for like 2 weeks, and then he got moved to another unit, and they chaptered him out on
That's good.
a crazy, training paperwork.
Yeah, I was going to jump in. I forgot one of the most important parts why I contacted this priest at that house I was telling you about. So somebody had told me you use white candles to put out good energy and black candles to absorb negative energy. Well, we were burning those candles because it was getting a little weird around there. And this was right around the time he was saying it's probably just some, negative energy. Just do the thing. Well, the day after that, before he actually came over to do the whole exorcism, we did the candle thing, and the black candle exploded all over the wall. Like it was one of those glass ones, but the whole thing just exploded right onto the wall. And I'm like, all right, whether that was just coincidence or not, the fact the thing that's supposed to get rid of the bad energy just splattered all over the wall, that tells, because it was the same part of the house where all this weird stuff was happening. So I'm like, nope. It's time to call him in. So
Calling
Yeah.
a professional.
Okay,
Yes.
here's the thing, Rhino. When it comes to stuff like that,
mhm.
if you aren't actually a practitioner of one of the things that, or one of the religious beliefs that actually does that,
Right.
all you're doing is really hacking off whatever entity it is that's occupying that space.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because if you can be doing everything according to what you're told to do by whoever,
Mm-hmm.
and all you, because you don't know exactly what the intent was behind whatever summoned it in the first place.
Right.
All you're doing is making that thing go, okay, you want to play, I can do that.
That's definitely what it felt
Yep.
like, man.
Well,
good.
Yeah.
You know, I
Uh,
saw an exorcist talking about that, but he was saying that the whole thing is very legalistic and it hinges also on having proper authority
Mhm.
over the location in question. So you want to own the house and be the effective head of the household to be able to do anything.
Mm.
Yep.
That's it. Hey, Corn Pop, where did you serve?
Well, it was National Guard 2006 to 2010. I was a Georgia National Guard going to Dahlonega, the university up in Dahlonega at the time, then did 5 years officer's side. That was a freaking mistake.
I hear you. I don't blame you for getting out. The officer side's crazy.
Yeah. I can talk. I got some thoughts on why that's all messed up, but I can go into that at another point.
Yeah, we'll do that on another show, man.
So,
Absolutely.
but when it comes to hauntings, now that I mentioned Dahlonega, we do have a barrack story up there. So, Pop, have you ever heard of the University of North Georgia?
Yes.
Yeah, so you're kind of familiar with them. They're decently hardcore military schools. So one of the student organizations at that school is something called the Mountain Order of Columbo. So these guys are absolutely batshit insane hardcore. So the way they run it is they haze the absolute dog shit out of you for, think 80s Ranger style, if not worse. And if you don't drop out by the time you get to the spring, then you've pretty much made it. So if they don't like you, they will make sure you drop out. But it is there is no actual kicking people out. And even with that rule, maybe 2 out of the 15 or 20 people who try out will make it. So now the reason that's important is because this plays into the story. So into the room 2 doors down from mine was supposedly haunted. So we got there. There's a Mountain Order Columbus sticker on the door, despite there not being a member of that organization living in that room. Well, the reason why is because it was a deceased student in there. The people next to that would hear furniture moving around. Well, nobody was else in the room. Electronics were weird, a couple there. I had a television 2 rooms down that would turn on and off every so often. Never saw anything myself directly, but, there wasn't any visual indications with this. But the story we found out is that one of the candidates for the Mountain Order of Columbo had died in that room, and he died because he was practicing his mountaineering and rappelling knots off of the 2nd story of the bunk bed. Bunk bed tipped over, landed on his neck.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, yeah, we had a death in the barracks, and that is a persistent haunting. And last time I checked, that barracks is still intact, so it's probably still going on. But it was also low level enough that nobody really has made a big deal out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one other quick thing. This is not a haunting story, but it's something that makes me wonder why on earth it's not a haunting story. My first duty station on active side was Germany. Launchduel area.
Oh, yeah,
to
that
be
place.
specific.
That's a good spot.
Stupid haunted.
Now, my first unit was a mobile army surgical hospital. Actually, the last surgical hospital at that time. They might have stood a few other ones back up afterwards. But that was over on Misau. Nothing ever happened there. Dead quiet. I got transferred to the Ford surgical team attached to the hospital. And again, nothing would happen. Our military historian came by to look over the place because it turns out that the base or the building where our unit was based out of was a Hitler Youth barracks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And
Yikes.
Hey, gentlemen, I'm going to be right back. I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
You got it, man.
and you would think, given what that organization did, that barracks would have been hella haunted.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nope.
At least I never encountered anything.
Right.
And the historian comes in and is like, yeah, I want to talk to all of you about things that you have had happen here. And all of us were like, what do you mean? None of us have
Nothing.
had jack happen here.
Yeah.
And that's when he told us what it was and some of the backstory on it. And we were all like, yeah, we've never seen anything even remotely strange. But thanks for the nightmare fuel.
There you go. I wanted to jump in and get these chats before I lose track of them here. I've got James 1225 on the Redonkulous MGTOW side of things, MGTOW.tv. This is for $2. Shake that sand out of your chute. Them ghosts of bad landings have a bad habit of a reoccurring nightmare. Right. And then we have over on the Red Pill Rhino side of things, 2 chats here back to back. Alex Patino for $10. Here's 10 for you, bro. Thank you so much. And Alex Patino again, this one, I'm not sure how to pronounce this correctly because they used 3s, but I'm going to just fill in the best I can. MGTOW Mando, did that dog tweaked while he hugged you? I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. It's TW3K3E K3D.
I think it's supposed to be tweak.
Tweak, yeah. Well,
and as far as the way my sister's dog was reacting,
yeah,
that particular animal on that trip was cowering in the floorboards for about 40 minutes after we passed that town. And somebody did point out that there's only like 20 people in that city at this point in time. Right. I don't know how many people were there when I drove through it. I don't want to know.
Yeah. All right. On that note, we're going to switch gears and get to our last story this evening. We've got Tommy D. Now we've got some emails to read, and we'll wrap it up from there. But Tommy, you had some paranormal stuff to tell. So,
God, am I the last one?
You are now.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, because you were slumped there for a second.
Yeah.
So this story's your slump buster?
Yeah. So this one's kind of it's a family thing. It's an odd one. Grew up in a house. Well, didn't grow up there because we left that area. Anyway, this was 76, 77, I think, when my mom and dad bought the place. Older home, small 2-bedroom, probably, I want to say maybe 800 square feet. Like I said, older home. We had an entity in the house.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And it wasn't a threatening entity. It was what we could figure, and what Mom always claimed was it was an older lady that had passed away in the home. My experience with it that I remember vividly, because you wanted a paranormal one, was we were in, I don't even remember which direction of the house we were in, if it was south or north, west, east, didn't matter. We were in the bedroom that was on the front, the street side facing, and Mom and Dad had the back bedroom, which was the alley side facing. Anyway, there was 3 of us at that point, I believe. Yeah, I think my sister and brother had both been born already. But there was a dresser sat next to the door, and my brother's crib was in the room. I had a bunk bed. My sister was on the bottom bunk. I was on the second bunk. Yeah, we were poor as fuck at that time. And I remember waking up one night, and I look over and I look at this dresser, and there's a figure standing there. And this is one of the guys that mentioned this. The apparition looked like my mother. And my mother was lazy. I knew it wasn't her. Anyway, it looked like the apparition was eating and watching me sleep.
Oh, that's not comforting.
Or maybe it was talking to me and using mouth motions and with the hand. I don't know what the fuck was going on. All I know is I woke up and it's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, then, either way, no thanks.
Yeah, and I rolled over and went back to sleep. But you could always feel a presence in the house.
Right.
About, I think it was 10 years ago, I drove by where that house was, and it's gone. And the house next to it which our neighbors had this. Yeah, I remember that. I was down in their basement. They dug another hole in the. It was a weird fucking area, guys. Anyway, old town type shit. That house was falling in on itself, and nobody was living there anymore. But our house that we had lived in until my mom and dad bought a place in the country, it was gone. It was just a narrow lot, and I'm talking. Most of your city lots are what, eighth acre,
Something like that.
Yeah, this one was like a quarter of that. It was a small lot, real narrow.
Wow.
Went back to the alley. It was gone. The house was just gone. I was like, what the fuck happened? I asked mom and dad. Like, oh yeah, they knocked that down years ago. I'm like, well, okay. But I've got one more thing I wanted to add on a different subject. You guys talk about playing with the black magic and fucking around with demons and that kind of shit.
Yeah, I don't fucking do that. Are you crazy?
No, absolutely not.
Well, not everybody is as smart as you guys are.
Yeah.
I won't even allow one of those special boards in my fufucking house.
Yeah, same here.
No, I had someone try to send me a dream catcher, and I just burned that thing.
The dream catcher is actually a good thing.
Yeah. Dream catchers really don't have anything to them. It depends on who makes it and what the intent is behind it.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
but some of these people play around with that Ouija board like it's a toy, or I've seen people even tattoo it on themselves. Like, are you out of your mind?
They had a block size. I got an invite for a block party in New York where they were having a ballroom-sized Ouija board. I just nope.
Nope.
Yeah, that's a Gozer level summoning.
Yeah,
it's New York. What do you expect?
No, thank you.
Right.
Look. The thing about New York is you can summon a horde of demons and nobody would even notice.
No, it just fits right in.
Well, isn't that just Tuesday?
Yeah.
Right. All right. We had some emails. I guess Jimmy had queued up. I don't know. Jimmy, are you with us, or are you still on break there for a second?
Hey, Rhino, I gotta back out. Everybody's asleep, so.
All right.
I got another story that's a little more positive than the others, but I'll have to save it for another time.
All right.
All good, man.
So
yeah, we're gonna wrap it up as soon as Jimmy gets back. We've just got a couple emails. I guess he had queued up there, so we'll see. Well, hopefully he comes back.
Something you guys might find amusing, because I know most of you don't like cats. I've had cats pretty much my entire life when I've not been in the army. And I feel sorry for any poltergeists that are in whatever space I live in. Because if something gets knocked over, I automatically am just like, Evie, stop knocking shit over.
Yeah.
You got to feel sorry for the ghost that lives in a cat house.
Yeah.
It's just trying to get some attention.
Right. All right. Checking again. All right, let's see. I'm going to see what I got here in there, get that queued up, because I do not know what happened here. We've got Jackal, quick ghost-ass stories. Story number 1. This is a tale told to me by my dad about my grandfather when he was, I got to full screen this, when he was a kid in good old Kentucky. My grandfather and a neighborhood buddy were out in that's interesting. It doesn't show the whole thing here. Oh, there it goes. We're out in the woods on a hunting trip, not giving a crap about getting dark. They make camp. Oh man, it's one of these that scrolls all the way across. They make camp and are resting when they start hearing what sounds to be like horse hooves galloping in the darkness beyond the reach of the lantern light.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Then they hear it again coming in the opposite direction. Then it happens again and again and again, each time from a different direction. As it got closer, they realized it sounded as if a horse was just running around them. He mentioned that all the other wood sounds seemed to go quiet. And that's familiar. Eventually, they backed up against a tree with the lantern still sitting not 3 feet from them. Grandpa said it sounded like it was 10 feet from them. They should have been able to see if anything was there, but there wasn't anything to see. There weren't even leaves or sticks getting kicked up as if a horse was running around through the brush. Then it stops. The snorting, trotting, and heavy breathing just stops, and the forest comes back creepy and not looking forward to moving out to the sticks. Yeah, there you go. There's something about like forests like that just, I'm telling you, there's something out there. Let's see. Story number 2. Cousin and I were exploring the patch of woods that separated our suburb from another. Came across a tree that looked like it was totally hollow. The base of it had an arcing opening that almost resembled a doorway. Told my cousin to hold position as my dumbass self-crouched down and crawled into the hollow trunk. Once inside, all sound from the outside went silent. There should be cars, kids, gunshots, and dogs making noise. All that should have been heard in there, but nothing. I turned my head so my ear oriented upwards, deeper into the tree. I could faintly hear what sounded like many people whispering. I quickly jumped out of that tree. I thought maybe it could be bats, the wind, or bugs. But thinking back, those were clear human voices, many of them, all talking at once in hushed tones. After venturing far into someone else's yard, we decided to head back. As we passed within 20 feet of where that tree was, we went around a large patch of weeds with those stupid seeds and barbs that stick into your clothes and hair. For whatever reason, I felt a compulsion to look towards the other end of the patch and saw what looked like the top of a head, a hairless, grayish round head. If the thing had eyes, they would have been an inch below the top of the weeds, but I saw nothing resembling eyes. So I told my cousin, just effing run. And we booked it back to the house, dodging bullets, druggies, and hoes of all sorts. Yikes.
No,
all right. All right. He's got one more here, and I think we have another email, and then we'll wrap up. But Jackal Hunter, I'll just throw this one back in. East of Elkins, West Virginia, 2015, 12:57 a.m. Hunting group. One has been reporting growling from various directions without a source that seems to be following them. Group 2, moving 200 yards north parallel to Group 1, was trailing a pack of coyotes heading east. 1:20 a.m. Group 2 reports coyotes slowing their pace. Yeah, slowing their pace and being on high alert. No one from Group 1 has heard anything suspicious for about 15 minutes. 1:37 a.m. Group 2 reports coyotes taking defensive posture and making warning calls. Group 1 lead orders halt, and Group 2 continues forward until it is directly north of the coyote pack. 1:50 a.m. Coyote pack begins calling sporadically as if in combat. Group 2 reports few visuals of the coyotes, but hears the whining of their wounded. Roars and howls resembling wolves are heard from the direction of the coyote pack. 1:52 a.m. Group 1's spotter gets visual of very large unknown canines attacking coyote pack. Group 1 leads orders bayonet charge. Group 2 complies, and both approach the hill. 1:53 a.m. Both groups arrive on the western slope of the hill and begin engaging unknown canines. The coyote pack has suffered casualties and appears completely ineffective in counterattack. Group 1 makes first physical contact with unknown canines, killing 2 in close combat. Rifle fire is partially effective. Group 2 splits into 2 elements and swings east to cut off unknown canine retreat, reporting 3 more kills. 1:59 a.m. Unknown canines break through the perimeter and retreat. Battle report: 7 coyotes dead, 2 injured. 5 unknown canines dead, injured, undetermined. 0 human casualties. The 2 surviving coyotes were subdued and taken for medical attention. A marker indicating the battle site and commemorating the dead coyotes was placed. The unknown canines were recorded to be 7 to 8 feet long, 4 feet tall, all black fur, and red eyes. No species of wolf has come close to resembling them, so they were deemed monster wolves. The fact that they could be killed was even a miracle, but they were defeated nonetheless. Hunting operations in that area have ceased ever since. The surviving coyotes made a full recovery and released back into the wild 20 miles from their original territory to prevent them from encountering those things again. They're survivors of the attack of supernatural beast. God knows how many had been completely wiped out by them. The region is prone to having supernatural beasts or cryptids reported. I am unsure what this is, but it's invigorating to hear humanity being capable of putting them down, reminding them who was tasked with having dominion over the planet, a shitty, death-filled planet, or whatever. That sounds like a typical Jackal ending. Maybe death wolves, maybe walkers that wear skin, maybe just dire wolves. Who knows? Maybe Luna's relatives from hell. Whatever they were, they could not be killed. And that is Jackal's stories for this evening.
All right.
All right.
That honestly sounds like leftover dire wolves.
Mm.
And that is actually a paleontological wolf species.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Apologies for that, gentlemen. I had to step out for a piss break real quick.
No worries.
Rhino, are we all caught up on that?
We're caught up on Jackals. I think there was one more email.
Alrighty. Well, you know what? We've been going for 3+ hours tonight. Yeah. If you guys are watching the banner on the bottom that I just dropped on, tomorrow night I plan on doing a show. We're going to play some Cards Against Humanity because, well, humanity has gone to shit. Mm-hmm. So we're going to play some cards and have some laughs and whatnot. I will have the emails opened up. So the stories that we did not get to tonight, I will be sure to read those tomorrow if we can get that done.
Now, don't forget, Mando is also doing a show.
Yes, MGTOW Mando is also doing a show.
Back to back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
just so you all know, it's going to be keeping with the Halloween theme, but we're not going to be focusing primarily on ghost stories or typical monster stories. It's going to be discussing cryptids of various types. Sean St. George gave me an article that he'd like to go over talking about Alaskan cryptids. And anyone I invite on who has stories of things like the black dogs or anything else of that nature, feel free to bring it.
All right, fair enough. On that note, I guess we'll get out of here. But before we do, we need our safety briefing, Popp.
All right, everybody. Don't drink and drive, and don't drink and swim. It doesn't work out. If you're going to bang, wear a condom, take it with you or flush it down the toilet and watch it go down because you never fucking know. Rack up, pack up, stack up, travel in numbers, maintain your situational awareness. Don't talk a bunch of trash. Be polite, be gracious. It'll go a long way in this world.
Excellent. All right. And I hope you enjoyed tonight's paranormal episode. We put that together for you. I hope you enjoyed the stories. If you did, please send in an email either to redonkulous12@gmail.com or redpillrhino@hotmail.com. Let us know how you feel about the stories. If we did not get to your emails, like you said, you can catch those over on Jimmy as well. If it's a long one, they might even do an individual episode on it going forward. We don't know yet. But thank you all for watching through to the end. Much appreciated. And we will see you next week. Until then, stay safe and have a good weekend.
Take it easy.